What a run it has been for James Franklin at Penn State, entering year 11, second longest consecutive tenure currently in the conference. Fair to say it's gone pretty well, averaged nearly 9 wins per season, 8 straight years they've been in the top 10, been to 5 New Year's Six games in the last 7 full seasons. The head coach of the Nittany Lions, James Franklin, is joining us now. And, Coach, you've made some changes. You have 2 new coordinators, so I want to ask you about that first. Let's start with offense and Andy Kotelnicki, who came over from Kansas. I had a chance to visit with him on the phone for about an hour last month. He's incredibly impressive, really enjoyed the conversation. What do you like about what he brings philosophically that made you feel like this was the right fit for you?
Well, a couple things. I've been following his career for a long time. We played him when they were at Buffalo. Love his head coach, Lance. I just think they've done a really good job. And I think the big thing for us is explosive plays. We did some really good things last year offensively, but we were not explosive enough. And if you studied Kansas, not only were they explosive, but they did it a ton of different ways. Run game, pass game, quarterback run game, a lot of different things that make it really difficult and challenging to defend. And then I think the good thing is, he didn't need to take the job. We spent a lot of time getting to know him. He spent a lot of time getting to know us, making sure it's the right fit, because we also are at a point as a program we'll need to start from scratch. Like, what are the things that can stay the same? What are the things that need to change?
I want to ask you about Tom Allen as well, someone Jerry and I have gotten to know a ton through the years and really, really like and respect. I always think it's interesting, and you were kind of saying this with Andy too, so maybe there's more similarities here than I would imagine. But when you hire someone who you have competed against,
yep,
that's always a tip of the cap to while they do something that gives us challenge and that troubles us in terms of preparing for them. So what were the things that Tom has done that made you think, wow, this is a guy who I'd want running my defense?
Well, I think a couple things, right? I think the first thing, obviously, 7 years head coaching experience in our conference. There's a lot of value that comes from that. On top of that, defensive guy. On top of that, attacking style front. Like, for us, we've been really good. I've been fortunate that literally all the way back to Vanderbilt, we've had a top 10 defense really our entire time at Penn State under 3 different coordinators. So we needed to make sure that we found the right guy, again, that didn't want to reinvent the wheel, that would come in and study us and say, okay, what can stay the same, and then what can we tweak and change that I want to be comfortable running the defense. So it was crazy. It literally was like a 2-week interview. Came out during bowl prep. I had 2 hours to spend with him. We interviewed. I was like, hey, I need a little bit more time with you. You'll stay tomorrow. The next day, hey, got another 2 hours. Can you stay? And literally, he was there for like 2 weeks. He was able to study us, our program. Was he comfortable? Because he didn't need to take a job.
Right.
So it really was a really good opportunity for me to spend a ton of time with him, make sure he was the right fit for Penn State, and the same thing for him. And I think that has allowed him to really hit the ground running. And then, Coach, as you know, you're able to kind of get back to doing why you got into the game in the first place. Coaching ball, coaching right, defense, without all the other stuff that I still got to deal with. He's focused on the things that we love about the game.
Going back to offense, so being more explosive, getting the ball to your best players, is that which contributes the most? Scheme, play calling, personality? I mean, what makes that happen, as you say, with basically the same players? And you did some things like that last year.
Yes.
All
those things, yeah. I think,
but what's the most important one? Is it when you call the play? Is it the player? Is it the scheme?
I don't think it's one thing. It's like most things in life. It's a combination of all those things. It's, as you know, as a play caller, in my opinion, there's about 4 to 6 plays a game right, that are really going to determine and dictate that game. That's when you know you got a great defense coordinator, offensive coordinator, because he can maximize those moments. But it's also, everybody understands, you got to get the ball to your best players. That's like coaching 101. But a lot of times it doesn't happen. So making sure guys that are committed to doing that, and the thing with him, he's been an offensive coordinator for over 19 years. So it's not like I got to guess. I could study all those things. Were those things happening on a consistent basis? And for us, it's a combination of all those things together.
Kansas last year among the best in the nation in terms of shifts and motions, just changing the picture on a defense. Curious if it's that or other elements of this offense will allow you and him to accentuate all the talents that Drew Aller has. And we know he's pure, but what else does he have in the tank that this offense is going to elevate?
Well, I think a couple things. I think, first of all, the motions and the shifts are great, right? But what I think he does a really good job of, you want to cause stress to the defense, but what you're always trying to do is how can I make it as simple as possible for the quarterback? How can I make it as simple as possible for the offensive line? You do all that motion and shifting, you ID the front, and then all of a sudden the last second, the front changes and somebody's unaccounted for in a scheme. So how do you do the motioning and shifting that creates a stress for defense but doesn't cause it for the offense? That's where I think he's brilliant. The other thing is being able to have a little bit of the things that we all know cause stress. Option causes stress. Is Drew Lamar? No, he's not Lamar. But if you watched him last year, he made more plays with his legs than you would think. Just having those things in your system as a threat that the defense has to account for, that's where I think Andy's done a really good job. It's the play action pass, it's the RPO, it's the motions and shifts. He does a little bit of all these things, and that's what makes him so difficult to defend.
What's the biggest challenge, replacing an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator?
Well, the other thing is I've replaced all three. Actually, we said two, new offense coordinator, new defense coordinator. Nobody ever wants to talk about special teams coordinator. That matters too. I think the biggest thing is fit in both directions, right? And when I talk about fit, I'm not just talking about cultural fit. I'm talking about scheme fit. When you talk about year 11, we're not in a position to be starting over. We're also not in a position where we can say we're going to take the preseason to work through the kinks. There are no preseason. So that's the biggest thing, is making sure that we got somebody that makes sense for us right now and can hit the ground running.
As a head coach, do you find yourself doing more X's and O's during the offseason because you hired two new guys?
Yeah, because, again, I think at the end of the day, I got to make sure that it's right, and that all the things we talked about during the interview process you're actually doing. Because during the interview process, they tell you whatever you want to get the job. Well, let's do these things. And then also just to go back, okay, at the end of the day, although we're hiring Andy because he did some special things and Tom because he'd done some special things, also part of the interview process is we can't recreate the wheel. What are you comfortable keeping the same so one guy can learn a few new things, not 50?
Right.
Coach, you referenced the interview process. You did that over 11 years ago, and now you're here at Media Day like you're a true vet. With that said, what do you remember about your first one here? Because there's three guys that are their first Big Ten Media Days. And then I'm also curious about, for you, when you look at the state of the game, you've seen so much in your time as a player at a D2 school all the way to now. How do you assess it?
Well, first of all, it's somewhat sad that 11 years now is like the exception. You know, that's really changed in college football. But I think all the way back to my first SEC Media Day, if I remember correctly, I was matched up with Coach Saban. It was me as a first-year coach at Vanderbilt, Nick Saban at Alabama. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Some lady was trying to get Nick to sign her baby. I think, it was like, that was chaotic. And then obviously now here in the Big Ten for 11 years, it's been great. You know, I've met a ton of really good personalities as coaches, in terms of media personalities, Big Ten staff. It's just been first class from the time I've joined the league to the end, and then to see the new 4 teams that have been added to our conference that you're more familiar with than anybody. I think that's exciting for our fan base. We got Washington in the whiteout. We got to go to USC in the Coliseum. Those things are even more challenging when you're at Penn State. With our airport and our travel, as you guys know, it's not an easy place to get to or get out of. So challenges and also excitement.
Coach, my first SEC meeting, some of the old coaches got off on a tangent, started talking about tractors that they were using on
the Brooklyn guy.
Yeah, they looked at you. You didn't add stuff. Well, on that note, I remember being at a meeting and everybody was talking about private planes and how they had 2 pilots and how excited they were that their AD had 2 pilots in a private plane. I said, I've always had private planes or 2 pilots when I was at Vanderbilt because I was flying Southwest, literally, as the head coach, literally. Yeah, flying Southwest.
That is good. All right, so our friends in Seattle, they've been asking me, like, how do you choose the whiteout What made you choose Washington for that game?
Yeah, so it's obviously a combination between myself and the AD and then also working with the Big Ten. It's become a little bit more challenging because in the old days, the perception of a primetime game was always at night, right? Well, we'd love the whiteout game to be at night. That's what our fans expect. Well, now with Fox and our partnership with them, a lot of your primetime games are out 12 o'clock. So how can we get what everybody wants, which is a big-time opponent at the right point in the season? It's going to make it easy for people to wear white rather than camo late in the season and staying warm in central Pennsylvania, right? And then also hopefully be a late afternoon or night game. So all those things kind of factored into it. And obviously it helps Washington playing in the national championship game last year, big opponent.
Coach, I have a sneaking suspicion I know the answer to this question, but how do you feel about life in a divisionless Big Ten?
Well, what I did love is I did love the conversations for 11 years. Well, coaches, don't worry about it. Over history, it always balances itself out. I never saw it balance itself out. That never
College
really
football
happened.
is never balanced out.
Exactly.
It's not a balanced sport.
They kept telling us. I said, let me see the data. Let me see the data on that one.
The other big change is 12-team playoff. And when you go through the history and you go through the data, there's no team that would have benefited from that more in this recent time period than Penn State. So what does it mean to be in that 12-team playoff world and to be one of the teams that people are talking about as being a favorite to get there?
Yeah, I think, for us, we've been talking a lot to our team about understanding the difference of a possible 17-game season. Like, you better understand what that means. And then not only, okay, what do we got to do to get into the playoffs, but what can we do to get into the playoffs and be in an advantageous situation, a bye week one, or whether it's a home game in Beaver Stadium to start this season. You want to put yourself in the best position possible to not just make the playoffs, but put yourself in an advantageous situation so you can go be successful in the playoffs.
Got a really big first game against West Virginia. This is not unusual for you to open with really good opponents. So you've been opening with Power 5 opponents, I guess 5 times in the last 7 years. How does it change the tenor of camp, especially given that it's a rivalry game, given all the focus that's going to be on this game, to have one of that magnitude right off the bat?
Yeah, I think it's good. As you guys know, you've been to Morgantown. It's a hornet's nest. I mean, they take a lot of pride in their football team. They got no pro team. It's all about West Virginia. It's all about Morgantown. So it'll be a great environment to play in. I was fortunate to play there a bunch when I was at the University of Maryland. We've played games like this opening at Auburn a few years ago. Even our at Purdue game was a great game to open the season. So I think our guys understand what it's about. This isn't the NFL where you get a chance to work the kinks out. We got to be playing well from week one, and there's a handful of those games across the country. But we've embraced it, and we're excited about it. And from a historical perspective, whether it's Pitt or whether it's West Virginia, there's great history with those opponents too.
Should be an amazing scene. Really looking forward to watching Penn State this season. Always appreciate your time. Thanks, Coach.
Guys. Appreciate you.
Coach.
We are back in Indy. The Big Ten season, of course, will end here. The football championship game December 7th. 18 teams beginning their journey over this 3-day period. All 18 hoping for a return visit 4.5 months from now. And Guy will be presiding over this season and that championship game. The commissioner of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, is with us. Tony, let's talk about the Big Ten championship game first, because you made a pretty exciting announcement yesterday, which is that the Big Ten championship will be continued to play here through 2028 at least. This has been such a great sight. I mean, I know as someone who's been to all 13 of them, it's been amazing. Why is it that you decided to continue this partnership?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the history is a big part of it, and the success the game has had here in Indianapolis. So that was an easy part of it, the experience in doing it, the commitment from the city, the staff, everybody here really embracing the game. It was a really competitive process, especially as the league, has expanded. The geography of available sites definitely grew. But we just felt like at this point in our history, like the next 4 years, this is the right place to be.
While we're on the topic of where things are going to be, the basketball tournament, we're still kind of awaiting some dates on that. When do you expect that we might hear about that?
We're pretty close. I think, I would say next 30 to 45 days or so, we should know where we are.
Okay, fantastic. You mentioned the expanding league. It is clearly the biggest topic of conversation. And in the times that we've interacted here really in the last year as you've been going to try to get from 14 to 18. I know how enmeshed you have been in all of the little details of making this happen. When you see it start to come to its fruition, as it has here, really today in some ways is the first day that we see it with UCLA and USC here. How do you feel seeing it go from kind of this hypothetical to a reality?
Yeah, you're 100% right. It really makes it feel real when you see the logos next to each other and you see players coming from the 4 new members and student athletes here all kind of interacting. So, for us, it's been real. We've been doing the work every single day. Schedules across not only football but every sport, meeting with coaching groups, talking to everybody, including them. Officially, they come in August 2nd, but you're right, this is kind of the big welcome party for our new members. And it does bring it to life. We're really excited about the upcoming fall season, not just in football but across everything. Obviously, this gets the most attention. And so I think we're positioned really well. The scheduling work that was done, I think when you look at the quality and the depth of the matchups, it's pretty spectacular. We're really, really pleased about what we're going to see this fall.
It's interesting because this is the third expansion now that we've been through at the Big Ten Network, and there was so much discussion about making those schools feel included right away from a conference point of view. I mean, we've done it obviously as a network, but I'm saying coming from the conference office. So what do you do as a conference to make UCLA and USC and Oregon and Washington feel like from day one you are part of this?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is all the behind-the-scenes work. They've got to be a part of that work, right? They don't officially join until August 2nd, but in terms of the work and scheduling and involving coaches groups, when I'm on calls with coaches, it's all 18, right? So we've been including them for the last several months. So the first thing is you've got to make them part of the process. And so when we're making decisions about a lot of different topics, they've had a really important seat at the table. So that's number one. Secondly, each campus gets to embrace it in a different way and how they interact with their students and the student athletes across, and the marketing piece and obviously social media, all of that. There's a lot of content coming out of these few days in terms of you'll see the league coming together. So, everything there has been going really, really well. But it's really, to me, the key is they got to feel like they're part of the decision process. And, that's been going on for quite a few months now.
How much time have you spent at each one of these campuses? Can you even calculate it?
Yeah, I mean, I've been out much. Like I think the big thing for me is what I'm really looking forward to most is being to a home conference football game. So I think the plan is to get out and be at every, at least each place to experience a Big Ten home game at 4 new members.
Some amazing atmospheres, as I know you are well aware of. It should be fantastic. You talked about scheduling, and I think if there was one question when all this kind of went down initially, that people were focused on, it was like, how are you going to make this work for the student athletes? And the football schedule had a lot of publicity around its release, and there was so much that went into the travel and making sure that it was minimized and it wasn't onerous for any particular school. There was a lot of kind of thought that went into each one of those components of it. But it felt like the ultimate test was going to be some of these other sports, particularly some of the Olympic sports. And some of these schedules have been released a little more quietly here over the last couple of months. So for people who haven't seen them, help them understand, maybe, broad brush, 30,000 feet, what the decision-making process was there.
I think you got to start to really understand that every sport is unique. Each sport has its own rhythm of a regular season format. Each sport, I think people just assume you play every team. We've got lots of sports that don't have all 18 members playing. So that's one thing to really point out to everybody, that that's not the case across every sport. And then on top of that, each sport's got its own rhythm of a regular season, and each sport's got its own postseason. Is it an all-comers tournament? Is it less than all-comers? How many do you bring to your baseball tournament? We don't play a tournament in volleyball. So there's lots of different things about the way we schedule each sport. Obviously, travel is a big piece of how we interact in the regular season. I will tell you that, and I've said this a lot over the last, several months because I get asked this question a lot. It's, we've got to do a good job of learning from this year. Like, we've put a lot of things in place in a relatively short time. You have to remember, a lot of the work was done to integrate USC, UCLA, and those schedules were built, and all of a sudden we added Oregon, Washington. We basically had to start over in every single sport. So that had all 4. So we needed to do that. And so I think we'll learn a lot from how we actually play. And one thing that I think staff and our athletic directors is, we care about the feedback from coaches and student athletes. We got to keep an eye on everything we're doing, learn from it, see what we got right, hopefully most of it, and then make the adjustments where we need. So it's probably really unlikely that in 3-4 years, every format that we're doing now will be exactly the same. I would think that would be unlikely. I mean, hopefully it's most of them, but you can't promise that.
So you had this little matter of adding 4 schools, the largest expansion in nearly 130 years in the history of the Big Ten. And oh, by the way, the landscape of college athletics is changing so dramatically while all of this is going on. So I do want to shift to kind of some of the big picture stuff that's going on in college sports. I think one thing that we're all really excited about is the expanded CFP and all the opportunities, not only for new schools to get into it, but for new schools to be in the discussion as we head into those final weeks of the regular season. Help me understand from your point of view, like where you think this will be most advantageous for the Big Ten.
Look, I think it's going to make our regular season even better. Like, I think the point you made, Dave, is really critical. You want as many teams competing late in the season for a chance to play meaningful postseason games. And, 4 out of just roughly 70 in the A5 is a pretty small number, right? Compared to what you see in professional leagues, and whether it's 14 out of 32 making the postseason or 12 out of 30 in some leagues. Some leagues are half their teams making the postseason. So we had a very small number. And we've got a lot of really good teams that deserve an opportunity to play. And so this will get us on the right path of giving more opportunities. And the benefit of that is what's going to happen, I think, in November. More teams grinding to the end of the season for that opportunity to get in the field of 12. And I think we're going to show very well. But I do think it's going to have a real impact. And the best thing, postseason should work together with regular season. That's the point of them, right? You go on a journey during the regular season with the goal of making the postseason. Those things have to come together to make sense. And that's what we're focused on. And I think this step to 12 is a really great step. And we think it's going to help our regular season. I think when you hear the coaches talk over these next couple of days, that's what they're playing for. They're playing for a chance to get in this tournament.
So you have all that going on, and then you have all kinds of legislation about the future of college sports. You had the House case settlement. At least a outline of it being discussed here, the implications for revenue sharing with student athletes. I know it's impossible to summarize all of that in a minute or two. How do you see the landscape of college athletics kind of coming to a place now where it settles into something that's workable?
Yeah, I think the word you used, settled, is a really important one, and workable, right? We needed something that was sustainable. We needed it to be something that was that schools can be organized around, that makes sense, that provides the benefits that student athletes deserve. I think we've gotten to a place in the settlement, assuming it'll be approved by Judge Wilkin going forward. If you look at it, student athletes will have the benefit of their scholarships and educational benefits, and they'll have the opportunity to have direct benefits from their institutions, which is really good. And the last piece is they'll have real NIL deals. When you put that together, that's pretty powerful. And so I think at the same time, we've preserved the connection to education, right? So I think all of that is a more rational system. And what I like about it is that the people that we get to work with every day, the administrators, the coaches, they're going to have more say in how we do this with our student athletes. So I think that's a really welcome change to getting back to making these decisions on campus, making them at the conference level, doing it across the NCAA. All of that is a really good thing. I think the last couple of years have been difficult in terms of trying to manage and be sustainable and get to the right place. So look, we've always felt in the last year especially that we were going to get to a place where student athletes were going to get more. We just wanted those benefits to flow directly from the institutions, and that's what the settlement does.
I think one of the things that maybe gets lost in all of it a little bit is the games, right? I mean, there's been so much talk of all of this other stuff, but it is such an immensely popular sport. As we know, college football and college basketball and all college sports as well, but football obviously being front and center. What are you most looking forward to on the field this year as you try to put all that other stuff aside?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just unpredictable, right? We've got new schools, you've got new quarterbacks being broken in different places, and the competition and a schedule that's going to be very different. So I think that part of it, and when you combine that with the stadiums and the fan bases that we have, and you put that all together, we're going to get some spectacular results all across the board. So I'm really excited about the new schedule. I just feel when you combine that with the TV exposure we have, on Saturdays and some Friday nights, I think we're just really well positioned to take advantage and showcase, the quality games we have. We have a lot of really deep matchups across. It's been pretty remarkable to see, the quality of games like week in and week out now in the Big Ten. It's going to be really competitive.
Tony, so I have one last question I have to ask you. This is the question I perhaps have gotten the most from Big Ten fans given this expansion. What happens to the Big Ten map commercial?
Okay, well, I learned very quickly in this job that there's a lot of passion around the Big Ten map commercials. So I would say to fans that we understand and we get that. So more to come.
So you're not tipping your hand.
Not yet.
But you're just saying that there might be some sort of map commercial.
I've learned a lot
future.
about the map spot over the last few years, over the last 12 months.
You had no idea what important issues you were going to
This one gets a lot of love.
Tony Petitti, really appreciate it,
Thank
as
you,
always.
yeah.
Thanks so much for
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Spending some time with us. Great to be with you as well. Our coverage continues from Indianapolis, a place where Iowa played for the Big Ten championship a season ago. Only 2 guys have won more games than Kirk Ferentz as a Big Ten head coach. They are Woody Hayes and Amos Alonzo Stagg. Entering year 26 in Iowa City, no signs of slowing down. 8 straight full seasons with at least 8 wins. Alabama, Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, the only other schools that can make that claim. Back with Jerry DiNardo, Howard Griffith, and the aforementioned Kirk Ferentz. I feel like the 3 of us have done this. 4 of us.
Once or twice. Once or twice.
Yeah. It's great to be with you every year, Kirk, and really appreciate everything that you've done for the Big Ten Network. I want to ask you, this is a unique question that you may not get at all elsewhere today. And so I just felt like maybe I should be the one person to ask it.
You're that kind of guy. Yeah. There's no question about it.
I want to ask you a little bit about your offense and the hiring of Tim Lester and what you've kind of seen in the spring from that unit that has gotten a lot of attention here in recent years.
Yeah, first of all, Tim's outstanding. He's just a tremendous person, first and foremost. He's got a great background offensively and also as a head coach. So a lot of things to really like about him. Most importantly, joined us early February. Has really transitioned well. The coaches have all, I think, really taken to him. He's very interactive with the coaches and wants their opinions on everything. And then most importantly, the players have really been drawn to him as well. He's got a good enthusiasm to him. Good expertise for his area of responsibility, and the players sense that and really have gone very much towards him.
There were struggles offensively a year ago, but a lot of them were due to injuries. And so I do want to ask you about 2 marquee guys. I mean, Cade McNamara and Luke Lachey, these are 2 headlining players in this league that you essentially didn't have last year. What can you tell us about where each one of them is physically heading into this year?
Yeah, I think if you look back to last year, we'd all agree probably 3 top offensive players are the 2 you mentioned, and Eric Hall, who got drafted by Cincinnati. So, we lost all 3 of those guys, and kind of like the New York Jets, things didn't look quite the same after that. The good news is, Cade's fully healthy right now. Luke's fully healthy and doing very well. And then bigger picture, I think for the first time in a couple of years right now, we're going to be a little bit more like we want to be. Our vision is up front, and everything starts up there. And then, if you factor a good, consistent quarterback plan with that, if we can get those 2 components together, I think we'll have a chance to be a good offensive football team.
Coach, I have this opinion, and it's really based on watching you practice every summer on the bus tour, that with all the changes going on in college football, at the end of the day, I still think we have a bunch of great young people playing this game. Your observations since your first year as a head coach to now, how much has it changed with the players? How have the players changed?
I think that's the most important point, Jerry, and you're spot on that. The great thing about what we get to do is work with really good people, whether it's the players, the coaches. Support staffs are way bigger than they were 20 years ago, but that's the fun of what we do. And I don't think they've ever come any better. And I'll cherry pick an easy one. Jay Higgins. I mean, you talk about in this world of college football, he sat behind Jack Campbell 2 years. Jay was smart enough to know this guy's pretty good, and he didn't complain about it. He learned, and he had a great attitude, made unbelievable contributions on special teams. When he was in there, he played well. And in this day and age, to do that was – and then so when he got his chance last year, I'm not surprised he played. He played at a level way higher than anybody would have predicted. But he's a great leader, just a great young man. And stories like that need to be told, I think, as much as, guys jumping here and there. He's kind of the opposite, but just a fantastic young person, and that's the fun of this stuff.
But even with NIL, even with if we start paying them, even if they become employees, aren't they still going to be the great young people?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's fun part about football.
They can handle it.
Yeah, football's not for everybody, and the people who are drawn to it, to me, are special people. And yeah, it's kind of been our focus has been more inward than outward, just trying to build the best team we can internally. And it's easier when you got guys like Jay or Jack Campbell before him. You get the right kind of guys, you got a chance.
Coach, I know that each week is important. You take 1 week at a time. But because the college football playoffs are out there and the 12-team playoffs, does that change at all the way you utilize players earlier in the season, or how you have to divvy up reps to try to make sure that not only you're winning your games, but you're also prepared to go into that 12-team playoff?
You know, I'll answer 40-some years ago, my wife looked at me and goes, we're kind of new in this whole thing. She goes, it seems like if you guys win, everything's good. And if we lose, it's not so good. Yeah. So I was like, that makes sense, Mary. Yeah. It made a lot of sense. And it really hasn't changed much. You got 12 games. I know we're going out west one time. Mm-hmm. We're not going on a stagecoach. It's going to be a plane, charter plane. So it's not backbreaking work. And we'll travel out there. It's going to be a tough competitive game. Mm-hmm. And I think you just have to look at each game that way. And I know from where we sit, we've got to be ready each and every week to be at our best. We don't have there's no strategy. It's all we got this week, and then we'll figure next week out next week.
Will travel change at all? Will you go maybe a day early or in the morning as opposed to maybe in the evening on a Friday?
We had some discussion when I was in the NFL. We did it both ways. I'm not sure there is a good answer. I think we're going to go. We're playing Friday, so we're going to go Thursday. We'll still practice in the morning, travel that probably late afternoon, get there early evening, and then just try to make it as much like a normal game routine as possible and see what happens. Yeah.
Your offensive line seems to be healthy. Your defense seems to be veteran, maybe one of your best defenses. Yeah. Do either or both of those things change the way you're going to address training camp?
Yeah, I think so. My message to our defense is, our biggest challenge is probably complacency. And, we have some good production last year. Mm-hmm. Last year's last year, and, production's production, but we don't get any points for that this year, so we've got to go back to work. And you want everybody on your team thinking about improvement and getting better. And we're lucky we have good guys there, so I don't think they're going to need a lot of reminding. And offensively, I feel like for the first time again, we're a little bit more veteran up front. Yeah. I'd say to right now, I think we have 7 guys that are capable of maybe having starting roles, which is something I couldn't say the last couple of years, but I think we're finally at that point. I think the quarterback's in a better position right now to keep those guys healthy and just see how everybody else comes along. But I think we have a chance to be decent.
Yeah, keeping those quarterbacks healthy, obviously a priority. But away from the field, how have you seen Kane grow with the team as far as his leadership and that sort of thing?
It's a great question. I almost feel like he was trying to do too much when he got here. And we recruited him to be a leader. That was, part of the attraction, watching him play at Michigan. But that's my biggest concern as I sit here right now. He is an important player. Everybody knows football, quarterback's the most important position. He touches the ball every play. But really all he's got to do is enjoy being a senior and go out and play his best football. If he does that, he's going to put us in a good position. I'm confident of that. And I think, it's probably, if anything, we'll have to, throttle him down a little bit.
It was interesting hearing you talk about the defense and saying the one thing you worry about a little bit is complacency. It feels like, for whatever reason, you've been able to avoid that through the years. I mean, Phil Parker, it's year in and year out. You guys have fabulous defenses at the very top of college football. So maybe part of it is helping your team avoid complacency. But what are the things that make him so good, where just year in and year out, we as media members and your fans and your team can depend on you'll be good on that side of the ball?
First of all, I was so glad to see Phil get the Broyles Award. Yeah. To win it at a school like Iowa is not easy, and I think there's other schools like us, but usually it goes to a little bigger name school. So it was so deserving. This guy's had 2 jobs since he quit playing football. He's been at Toledo and Iowa. And he is a football coach. Phil's not really one to tend to lean to the complacency side, so that's a good starting point. But we got a great staff, and then the guys we get to coach are really outstanding. So, but that was a building block 25 years ago. We hired Norm Parker. It was to build a good defense. Yeah, I'm a dumb line coach, but one thing I figured out in all sports, if you play defense, you got a chance at least to be there at the end of the game. And if you don't play defense, it's a wild ride, and it's up and down, and we don't want to be on that train. So the guys have done a wonderful job. I think we got the right guys. Now we have to stay healthy, and we've got to, we've all got to be thinking about getting better, and that's everybody's job.
I do want to ask you a little bit about the sport more globally, just obviously given the incredible perspective that you bring from all your time in it. What do you think are the biggest challenges right now in terms of the governance of college football and getting it to where you believe it needs to be?
Yeah, I certainly don't know all the answers, and there's so many different hurdles that have to get climbed, I'm sure. From a simplistic standpoint, coaching in the NFL 6 years, the beauty of that league is there's a salary cap, a maximum and minimum. So everybody's in a certain range, which is college football, and it's always been that way. But there are rules about, free agency and all those kinds of things. We just don't have structure right now in college football, unfortunately. This is all new territory, so we got a lot of work to do to harness this stuff in. That's an issue, and then the other issue that's not here right now, and the NFL has this, is transparency. So last wintertime during the free agency period, you don't know what a team's offering somebody else. But when it's all said and done, it's a matter of record, so you can go back and look at what the prices were last year. Ultimately, you pay a player, what do you think he's worth? And somebody else does the same thing. But at least to have some things where you can make intelligent decisions and go from there. But we lack all that right now. It's just kind of a free-for-all. And right now it's sustainable, but it's not over a long period. I strongly believe that. So at some point, we're going to have to find a way to harness this in. I know there's Title IX implications. I know there's a lot of things to consider. It's not that simple, but somehow, some way, we're going to have to find a formula that works, and so we don't ruin a really good game.
How much input have you gotten as you've pondered some of these ideas from players? How much have you kind of picked their brain of what works for them and what doesn't?
Yeah, I talk to our guys about what do they think is fair, and part of this equation with NIL is you want new facilities or do you want a bigger pool. And so, there's a lot, but I think player input's really my concern is I want to make sure guys on our roster feel like they're being treated fairly. And, again, everything starts that way, and then if we have to patch a hole or fix a hole, we'll try to do it from the outside in.
Again, you've been a head coach so long that you get all these kind of questions. When was the last time college football was challenged in this kind of environment?
I don't think ever, Jerry. I think you'd probably agree. You
scholarship limits, maybe?
Veterans. Yeah, they when they put the limits back and all that, and I thought that was good for college football to create more parity. But these are really uncharted territories. I think we're all aware of that, and they're complex answers. I know that. I'm simplistic in my view, but to work all the details out, it's going to be interesting. Just this next 12, 18 months is really going to be interesting, and I feel pretty good about where we're at now to January. After that, I have no idea what it's going to look like.
Can you get all the coaches in the Big Ten on the same page? Is that possible?
That'd be my first hope. And that's one thing about being in a conference, at least hopefully we can all see the world semi the same way. So we all play kind of by the same rules. And then, what other people do, you can hope to influence, but you can't necessarily dictate.
How about one of the things that seems to be really exciting from a coaching standpoint is you guys will have tablets and you'll be able to communicate with the players. How does that change things?
Yeah, we're catching up to high school football. Right. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, this is great.
I didn't want to say it.
No, it's unbelievable. High school football's been doing it forever.
I was like, okay. That's great. But, the helmet-to-helmet is, it's good for the game. It's just good for the game. It's good for us because we're going from an offense that was pretty condensed in terms of verbiage. Now we're in a very verbiage-heavy offense, so it's a perfect timing. But it's just good for the game. And then the tablets on the sidelines, it was stills in the NFL. I'm a little worried now, but we have too much information. That's going to be – we're going to have to work on that as a staff. I'm not trying to do too much with the information we have because it's quick turnaround on the sideline, but information's good.
But even with the players, just being able to get them to communicate more with you guys at that point, I think will be really helpful.
Good. Yeah, it's good for the game. Yeah.
Have you enjoyed implementing a new offense? I mean, you spent a lot of time with the X's and O's.
It's invigorating. Anytime you do something new, or you get thrown in some water that you're not used to, and it's a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm still trying to learn some of our formations and motions. It's like, I get it. And so I got you're always trying to decode. Okay,
right.
and what I know is how it works. Yeah. A quick story: when we went to Cleveland to Baltimore in '96. Ted Marchibroda came in, had a new offense, and I'm looking at him with my head turned, and I'm like, Coach, this is going to be tough. I'm thinking about our guys. So fast forward, the players get there, we start going. These guys had no issue. The players in the room, the only guy who was struggling was the old guy sitting in the back there, the guy coaching. And so I finally caught up. But they're going through that now. So it's been fun.
When you said Ted Marchibroda at the podium, Howard and I looked at each other.
There you go.
There's only three of us that know what we was talking about.
Exactly. So true. Howard, you're in that group too?
Yeah. Come on. The K-Gun, I remember it well.
Yeah, there you go.
It was unbelievable.
Exactly right.
Coach, really great to visit with you as always. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to watching the Hawkeyes this year. Should be an exciting season.
Look forward to seeing you guys in Iowa City next month. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
Back here in Indianapolis, Media Day's rolling on, and it's a new era in East Lansing. A lot of new faces for Michigan State fans to get to know. First-year head coach Jonathan Smith bringing in 24 new guys from the portal, including a trio of offensive talent from his former team, Oregon State. Aiden Childs, a great young talent at the QB spot, and he's got some great weapons around him. And Jack Velling, who also came across from Corvallis, and running back Nate Carter. Those two here at Media Day alongside defensive back Dillon Tatum. Gentlemen, you're looking sharp on this set. How are we feeling? How's Media Day going?
Feeling great. Media Day is going great. Having a lot of fun out here with DT and Jack. Yes.
All right. Here's the thing. We're talking before we come on, and I said, what did you guys do this summer? And we're kind of making small talk. Turns out you had the best summer of any of us. You just got married.
I did.
Congratulations.
Thank
Tell
you.
us how it went.
Yeah. So I met my wife, Madison. Yeah,
got
the ring right here.
Be proud of it.
Yeah, I met my wife, Madison, when I actually first transferred here in January. And we were dating for about 8 or 9 months. I proposed to her in September. Thankfully, she said yes and got married in May.
It's been a whirlwind year, then I should say. And I think for all of you guys, there's been a lot of change. Obviously, Jonathan Smith is the new head coach. And Jack, I'll go down to you because I think you obviously came with him from Oregon State, so you knew what you were getting. What was that decision? When you found out that he was leaving for East Lansing, what were the conversations you had with him, and ultimately what led you to the green and white?
Yeah, it was a tough decision. A lot of factors went into it. The final thing that went into it was, I had, a good year last year and the year before that, and I thought, why would I leave and take a risk somewhere else when I can just come here and, try to take another step next year. So with him and Coach Lindgren and Coach Waz, it felt like the right decision for me.
Well, I want to talk about your game in a little bit because you are a special talent, and obviously you've got a connection with your quarterback. So we'll get to that in a second. But when you think about when there's a new coaching change, players do have a decision to make. Are you going to stay, or are you going to fit in the system that they're going to bring in? What was your decision point like when you decided ultimately that Jonathan Smith was the guy you wanted to play for?
Definitely, Coach Smith came with a great idea. We have a great thing going well, and we just want to continue to get better as a team, gel together, grow, learn from each other, get new wisdom, and at the end of the day, we want to win every game on our schedule. That's our end goal. And then you have the support from the fans, the support from the community, great people that just kept me here and had my back at every given point.
Well, I think it's interesting because, your head coach was a terrific quarterback himself at Oregon State. Now, I know you know that because you played for that program and you understand. But have you guys seen, the film of when he was a player back in the day? Is he taking any of that out? You're looking at me like no.
I have not seen that. I would love to see that film.
The 2001 Fiesta Bowl against Notre Dame is the one that I would recommend.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got it up?
Yeah, we don't have it up, but we can YouTube it right when we get on the set. And I do think it's really interesting to think about what you guys have going here because obviously Coach Smith was a legendary quarterback, but his offenses run the ball more than they throw it. So you seem like the perfect fit for this system. Tell me how it feels, your adjustment. What for you has it been like playing under him so far?
Yeah, I'd say it's been great. I think Coach Smith and his staff have done a great job to help me, and not just me, but also the other returning offensive players to be able to get acclimated to offense in a way where it's simple for us. And we are doing so much diverse things for the offense. It's so fun. It's a fun offense. It's an offense that you want to be a part of. It's an offense that a lot of people are going to be able to touch the ball. A lot of our receivers are going to be able to make plays. A lot of our tight ends from all offensive scales are going to be able to make plays and be able to help our team win. So it's great for us. I'm having a lot of fun with it, and I can't wait to see what we're going to do in the fall.
There is always a learning curve, though. So how has, when you think about the different things that Brian Lindgren, who's brilliant offensive mind, some of the different verbiage, and, you talk about a lot of different guys being able to touch the ball, what has been the learning curve?
Yeah, just learning the new terminology, learning the way that they do things and learning how they want things to be done. From being a part of different offenses throughout my college career, I realized that every single offense are different. Everybody's blocks differently, everybody runs differently, everyone calls different things differently. So it's exciting for me to, see and grow in my football IQ to be able to see these things, to be able to know these things. And Coach Lindgren and his entire offense staff done a great job to help me and everybody else to understand it well so we can be able to perform.
I'm thinking about all of the different connections you guys have, and one of the best parts about Media Day is getting to see all the players interact with each other, and you guys have relationships. A lot of you played with each other in high school. You played with Donovan Edwards in high school, and I know you two had a close relationship. I'm just curious what it was like watching him and Michigan make that run, the game that he had in the national championship, and your relationship now.
Me and Don, we talk at least once a week. He's a great guy. Nice run, but good luck to you, man.
There you go. Do you talk on rivalry week? Do you guys exchange messages then?
Give or take.
Okay.
But it's all, smack talk leading up to it.
Yeah.
And then during the week, he's just like, hey, you're going to do what you got to do. I'm going to do what I got to do. And so now I have the one up because he didn't break no tackle on me. Not a chance.
There you go. That's the only score that you guys are.
Oh, yeah.
Jack, I think for people who, the Michigan State fans and Big Ten fans who are going to get to know you and your style of play, Jonathan Smith got up at the podium and he said you have the chance to be one of the best tight ends in the country. I know you have a great relationship with Aiden Childs. You obviously had good chemistry from working with him a year ago. Talk to me about how comfortable you feel. Obviously, this is a system you know well, but the guys you have around you, and specifically Childs, what can Michigan State fans expect from him?
Yeah, it's going to be a fun year. Aiden's I think he's going to shock a lot of people. It's just about getting everyone comfortable with the offense that we're running, and once everyone gets comfortable, it's going to be hard to stop. But no, it's Aiden. He's an exciting player to watch, and I would just say no play is dead when Aiden has the ball in his hands.
Yeah, that's well said. And you're an exciting player to watch too. In my memory, I'm remembering that 3-touchdown game that you had against Cal last year. I think you had 4 catches, and I remember watching you in the postgame interview. You hadn't broke a sweat. What is it that you take pride in about your game?
I think I take pride in making it physical, be physical. But also, opening it up and getting open in the pass game and kind of being a, that safety net for Aiden. But I'm pumped for this year, and I think it's going to be an awesome season for us.
Now, coming from Oregon State, I know you didn't have a lot of green in your wardrobe, right? Because the Oregon Ducks, your rival, that was not a color that you guys like. Now you have a lot of green. You guys are going to go play the Oregon Ducks at Autzen Stadium in October. You've played there. You obviously beat them your freshman year at home in Corvallis. But what is the experience of playing a team like that? You see what they're building. A lot of people are saying they're going to compete for a national championship. Have you told these guys about that experience?
It's kind of I haven't really talked much about it. I'm excited to go down there and play, but at the same time, it's another game that we're just going to try to put that tally in the win column. So. Not trying to think about it too much, but it's exciting. Hopefully, I'm going to get some family down to that game, so I'm excited.
What was it like for you guys when you found out that there were, that we went through 2 expansions, first USC, UCLA, then Oregon and Washington, being a part of this conference now, knowing that you're going to get to play some different teams, from the player's perspective, what was that like?
Yeah, I think for me it's great. It's amazing that we're enlarging this conference, and it's amazing that we're enlarging this conference with great competition. Like you just mentioned, teams like Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington, they're all great teams, and it's exciting for me to be able to go to these different stadiums, to be able to play at these stadiums. I've never even been anywhere near there before, so it's an exciting experience for me, and I'm sure that it's exciting for the rest of the college football fan base as well.
I can't wait. I've never been to Oregon. Haven't been to California since I was a baby. So it's going to be an exciting time. Just wait to hit somebody on their team. That's my goal.
I have a feeling you're going to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I have a
that's my
feeling
job.
That goal is going to be achieved. All right. I got to ask you, AFCA Good Works team, you were just named to that. And I think we can talk a lot about what you're doing on the field and how impressive that is. But tell us why. I was reading all these press releases that you were named to the Good Works team, but it's for community and leadership. Tell me what you're involved with away from football.
Yeah, no doubt. I would say one of my biggest things I did in the summer, other than getting married, I hosted a football camp down in Rochester, New York. And that was huge for me because it was an opportunity for me to put on a camp for those in Rochester who don't get looked at. Coming from a small town in Rochester, New York, we don't get the notoriety that kids down like in Texas or Cal get. So it's encouraging for those guys to see me be like, hey, like this guy was in our area. He played school. Some of these guys even played against me, and it's like, hey, if this guy can do what he's done from coming from our area and be where he is right now, then I can too. So it was encouraging for me to see how many people came out and supported. And I hope I was an encouragement to all those kids to be like, hey, you can be in my steps. All it takes is hard work and dedication.
I think it's easy to forget how many young kids look up to you guys. I hope you feel it, and I hope you see it, and moments like that you create are important. Do you remember, it wasn't all that long ago that you guys were young pups looking to the older guys. Who were the guys that you used to look up to, whether it was somebody in college or the NFL? Who were some of the guys that you used to love watching play?
Yeah, growing up, I went to so many state games. It's like I can't even count. But definitely Le'Veon Bell, L.J. Scott, Lawrence Thomas, all those guys, great leaders, great football players. And I just remember getting their signatures all on this one little helmet that I still have. I keep on my desk now, And now that I'm in that position, I'm just blessed to be here, thanking God for these talents and bringing these people along with me, for my teammates, because that's what it's about.
Amen.
Yeah, I mean, just being from, Pacific Northwest, grew up, watching Washington play a lot, tight ends play, like, think about like Austin Safarian Jenkins and Kate Otten, watching those guys and growing up and, wanting to be like them, and even, John Ross and just guys like that. So I think it's definitely you got to kind of take a step back and realize like really how many kids do look up to you and to us.
Amen to all of that. Okay, we got the pictures because here's the deal. Your wife is fabulous. Madison?
Yes.
Okay, can we give a shout out to Madison because we got
there she is.
From the wedding day, May 18th.
May 18th.
My biggest piece of wedding advice to you or marriage advice is make sure that you put that in your calendar. You knew the date when I asked you, but it's only been 3 months removed, so just congratulations. This is an exciting new time. She's a beautiful bride. Did you get to go on a honeymoon?
Yes, we did. We went on a Royal Caribbean cruise the day after. It's been amazing, and it's going to be my life goal to go on a cruise every single year.
Hey, you're living large.
Thank
I love
you.
that.
Can I get a fist bump too?
Man. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed the offseason because your schedule is no walk in the park when you guys get things going in the fall just around the corner. How about that stretch starting September 28th against Ohio State? That's a gauntlet. Friday night game at Oregon, home against Iowa, then at Michigan to close out the month of October. But it all officially kicks off August 30th against FAU right here on Big Ten Network. Gentlemen, thank you. Good luck in camp and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you so much. Go
Thank you so
green.
much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Go green.
We are back in Indianapolis, and one of the most successful young coaches in college football taking over now in East Lansing. Jonathan Smith coming over from his alma mater of Oregon State. Really got it going in his last 3 years there, winning 25 games, including 10 victories 2 years ago. Pretty good QB in his day, threw for nearly 10,000 yards in his Beaver career. And Jonathan Smith is joining us now at his first Big Ten Media Days. Coach, welcome to the conference. First of all, we're thrilled to have you.
Yeah.
Obviously, you've had a lot on your plate since you took over at Michigan State in November. How would you compare where you are right now to where you were then a number of months ago?
Yeah, I think we've made a lot of progress, a lot going on in 8 months, a lot of work to do. Think about, obviously initial, players, recruiting, putting a staff together, getting aligned in a hurry through January, February, leading into spring practice. And then we feel really good about the summer, the work that got done in June on the recruiting side and tightening up details for fall camp coming up. But probably the most important month we've had together will be the month of August, getting ready for the season.
I know a lot of this is to be determined in camp, kind of as you're alluding to. You'll learn a lot about your team in the next month or so. But what do you feel best about as you head into this first season?
Yeah, I feel really good about the mentality. These guys love football. Being around them, they like practicing. They like being around each other in the weight room, the work ethic, extra time with coaches. I do like that about this team. I think about, this month coming up. Spring ball, implementing brand new schemes, right? Offense, defense, a lot of learnings going on. Now truly having a competitive camp in August to earn spots on the depth chart.
Coach, I say this as a guy that was 1-3 against Michigan State in my career, so I mean this in the right way. But, you look at Michigan and Michigan State, you look at Oregon and Oregon State, and like Michigan and Oregon were the bigger brands. And I felt that whenever we played Coach D'Antonio, he leveraged that to his locker room. And you knew that you were going to get some extra juice in that rivalry game. Do you do that? Did you draw on that at all at Oregon State? Will you draw on that at all at Michigan State?
I definitely would draw on similar experiences being in an in-state rivalry. Yeah. I look at my whole coaching career was a part of an in-state rivalry, and it's one of the best things about college football, I think, is to having those type of rivalries, meaningful, passionate fan bases. The games mean a bunch. And so when we get to that point, we'll have our guys ready to go.
Okay, let's talk style of play. Right? You didn't grow up in Big Ten country, but now you're coaching at Michigan State. It feels, though, like your style that we saw on offense at UW when you were the coordinator or the head coach at Oregon State mirrors like what we think of when we close our eyes and say, Michigan State, what do they look like?
Yeah.
Do you feel that now having been there for a few months?
I feel that, yeah, the style play on the offensive side, we want to make the thing physical and all that. Obviously, you're trying to make sure you're putting your players in the best positions possible, and this is a new roster and all of that. But, Big Ten has been known, physical brand of play. But I will tell you, there is some skill in this league. There's some quarterback play, innovative on the coaching side. It's not just all 3 yards in a cloud of dust.
Coach, I felt Joe Rossi has been one of the more underrated coordinators in our conference going back a few years now. Michigan State in recent history struggled defensively. Rossi, I think he had 2 of the last 3 seasons, top 10 scoring defenses, just a phenomenal coordinator. What has it been like getting to know him? What areas has he allowed your defensive unit to make the most progress?
Yeah, I think he's been a huge addition for us. We're very fortunate him signing up to do this thing and now being around him, seeing how he implements schemes, seeing how he teaches, organizes, not just for the players, even the coaching staff that he's got some big-time guys next to him in that group, but felt awesome coming over to a new league and landing a guy with that kind of experience and success in the league was huge.
When you're on the big stage, you reference some of your mentors, Mike Riley, Dennis Erickson, Coach Chris Peterson. They never had to take a team that had 61 new faces and make it come together to compete at a really high level. But I'm sure there's traits that you've pulled from that. How are you doing that this offseason in advance of camp?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge part of August, especially. You talk about 61 new faces, kind of a mindset we got to get to build a deep amount of trust. So it's not going to just be completely schemed during August in football and practice and all of that. We're going to do a bunch on the culture side, making sure we know and trust each other. This is the ultimate team game. And you mentioned the mentors. Well, I learned a bunch of how to do that from those guys, and we'll do similar things.
Well, a big piece of that leadership would be your quarterback, too. And you obviously brought in Aiden Childs with you from Oregon State, a younger guy. But, what pieces about his character allow you to have some confidence that he can immediately come into this new locker room with all the new faces and be the leader of his team?
Yeah, I think he's a connector. He can connect well beyond just like the quarterback room or the receivers. He hangs out with the DBs that are talking and D-line. So he's got that attribute as a leader. I think the game, he got some great instincts of the game, has some experience. And so I think that showed up a little bit in spring ball for some validity for him. And the other thing, he doesn't make him about himself. He's a great teammate, always talking about others, not just himself, and we're looking forward to see his progress throughout the year.
Where does he net out around the word discernment in that position?
Yeah.
You had it.
I give the guy a little bit more experience because I do like his aggressive style, but what he showed and played this last fall with, he had a great amount of discernment.
Made a big statement about your tight end, Jack Velling. Not just one of the best in the conference. You felt he could be one of the best in the. He moves really well. I'm excited to see him. Why are you so confident that you could say that about him at this point?
Well, being with him is 2 years and watch his continued progress. He's got natural hands, can separate, will catch contested balls. He's just had some real production, and so if he stays on that type of plane, I do think he could end up being one of the best.
What can we expect his role to be within your offense this fall?
Yeah, we're going to lean on him, no question. I mean, he's proven that he can play in big games and make big catches and score a bunch of touchdowns. And so try to move him around. Again, he can't be the only weapon, but we want to make sure we're maximizing him.
He's a young Jake Butt.
Jake's always good for a tight end question, isn't he?
I'm going to take my chances. When I get a chance, I'm going to take it.
Okay, help me settle this one, because Coach and I have been talking about this on set. There's a theory that in the Big Ten, it's a physical brand of football. You came from a physical league, especially the last year that you were there, last year at Oregon State. What do you think about it? I'm sure you've advanced scouted and watched a lot of tape of the opponents you'll play in this league. And do you feel that way where you came from?
Well, I felt like these 4 new schools coming over, they played a physical brand. You look at the way Washington and Oregon played the game last year, they were as physical as anybody. And again, I talk Big Ten, it talks about physicality, and there is that. But again, this thing has dynamic playmakers, wide open, and some exotic stuff on offense. It's not, like I say, it's not just 3 yards cloud of dust.
We live in an instantaneous world, right? Like you bring in, there's a lot of excitement around, you being hired to Michigan State, of course, an urgency to win. But I look back at your time at Oregon State, and it took some time. The final 3 years looked different than the first 3 years. And I'm just curious, as a leader, how you balance the need to be urgent to win now, but the perspective to be patient that, great things do take time.
Yeah, I think it helps going through the process because, we're not patient as coaches, right? We're not going to try to sit and go slow. At the same time, I think responding to setbacks, knowing that first year, call them hiccups, might take place type thing, but it's dramatically different, the landscape now, than it was when I started 6 years ago with the portal and how much transition can go on a roster.
I know you're giving a lot of advice to your players, but Nate Carter, you referenced how he got married. Like you and Candace, you give him any advice here in advance of the season? He's going to be away from the house for a lot of time here preparing year one.
I tell him, don't choose to be right, just choose to be happy. And that's what worked out for me.
He's just got married. I just got married 3 months ago.
Write it down.
I'm going to take some notes and appreciate
it. Take some notes, no question about it. I want to ask you just about a formula at Michigan State. Like Michigan State is a place that in the 4-team college football playoff world made the college football playoff. So, I mean, this is a place where you can win at the very highest level. As you have assessed it, maybe even in your decision-making process when you were weighing whether or not to take the job, but certainly in the time since you've arrived there, what do you see as the path for Michigan State to be among the elite programs in the game?
Because you're right. Some part of that looking at Michigan, they've done it before, and they've played at the biggest stage. I do think, building a roster inside out, I looked at some of those really good teams they had back in the day. A lot of those guys, Michigan, Ohio, driving distance from the campus. And so we're taking that approach in the recruiting side. Not that it's going to be completely, but a good amount. We want to build the thing inside out. And I look at those teams that make the thing physical, and come in the elements in the end of the year, a team that can be able to finish physically. We want to take that approach.
So that's the destination. That's where you're trying to get. How about this year? How do you define success for this program this year?
Yeah, I'm not going to dodge. We want to win. I'm not, coming in and all of those things. We want to win more than we lose. I want to be playing our best football at the end of the year. I think if your process is right, you can play game 1 and then game 2, you're going to be a little bit better. Well, you keep that going for 12 straight games, playing your best football at the end of the year when the games are the most meaningful.
To what extent do you feel like your experience on the West Coast can help you in this newly expanded Big Ten?
Well, I think it helps to, familiar with the 4 schools that are coming on over. Again, on the recruiting side, not that it's just so solely by your campus, heavy amount by your campus or within, but there's players on that West Coast. And I look at schemes across the country, but we're pretty familiar on the West Coast, and there's some good stuff going on over there.
Jonathan Smith, really a pleasure to get a chance to visit with you. Welcome to the Big Ten, as I said, and looking forward to seeing the Spartans on the practice field and then on the playing field this year.
Thanks, Scott.
Well, I don't know if there's a team that could benefit more from the expanded 12-team playoff than Penn State, and with the elimination of divisions in the Big Ten, the Nittany Lions, they don't get Michigan this year. They will get Ohio State as well as 3 of the conference newcomers from the West Coast. We'll talk about their schedule. James Franklin, he's got 2 new coordinators. 15 all-conference players back from a team that won 10 games a year ago. And here at Media Days, we've got a trio of seniors, Jaylen Reed, Dvon J. Thomas, and Tyler Warren. Gentlemen, welcome to the set. Welcome to Media Days. It's nice to see you all.
Thank you for having us.
Now, we just met a few minutes ago, and I said something that I really did mean, that you are the best dressed, and this is no offense to your teammates because they look fabulous. But, and I feel like I wish I could get you to stand up, which we can't do on this set. But tell me about your fit, because I feel like you're the best dressed person I've seen at Media Days.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it, We could talk about this, though. But me and Vaughn, we were going back and forth about this fit for about a month now. Shout out Vaughn for helping me with my shoes, but I feel like, all seriousness, though, I feel like me dressing today, though, it gives me a chance to show my personality. We don't get to usually put on suits and stuff, Usually Coach Franklin, before the games, makes us put on the team jogging suit. It's cool. But, this is the time I was like, okay, I'm going to show a little personality, show the world who I am, I'm real big into fashion, real big into dressing and stuff, and I like clothes a lot. So this is my time to show.
Yeah. I feel like you are begrudgingly.
No.
Yes,
he's very,
well
he's very trim, very well dressed. They both are for sure.
Yeah.
I just come a little different. I'm the flyest big man. I'll take that title.
Can you hold up the watch too? This watch is like.
Oh my goodness, the watch.
It ain't nothing, man. Shout out Shop God. It ain't nothing too crazy. My boy Christian.
Tyler, do you want to talk about how your outfit came together? No, I don't want to leave you out of this.
I gave him a color and then he did the rest for me. I got my shoes from Kohl's and from my junior prom, and they still fit. So that's what I'm rocking today.
They're vintage now.
Yeah, I'm a little different than them with the fashion, but I think we all did a good job.
You all look sharp.
Shout out to Adrian Amos for the suits, though.
Here's the thing, guys. I think about Penn State and what you guys have been able to do the last several years. You're all veterans on this squad. But what is on the horizon? And I think the excitement about the talent you have coming back this year, the elimination of divisions in the Big Ten, the new teams coming in, the playoff going to 12 teams. I hear a lot of people talking about how Penn State's going to benefit the most. I mean, in the last 10 years, if it had been a 12-team playoff, you guys would have gone to the playoff 6 times. Mm-hmm. So there's some truth and numbers to back that up. What is the feeling inside the locker room? I know you guys have put in a lot of work in the offseason. I'll start down at the end with you, Tyler. What is the feeling around this program right now?
Yeah, I feel like obviously there is, more opportunity towards the end of the year, but nothing's going to happen unless we take care of business on the front end. So we got camp coming up, and then we'll be focused on our week 1 opponent and just going 1-0 and doing everything we can to prepare and become the best team we can, offense, defense, special teams. So just focusing on that and taking it one step at a time. We'll take care of the end of the road goals, but we're focused on the present right now.
Well said. You've been well coached at media training, I can tell. Don't look ahead. You came back for your 6th year.
That's right.
And a lot. I'm curious, what went into that decision, and ultimately, what's the goal for you right now as you go into your 6th year of college football?
I mean, just the opportunity we have. Like you said, in years past, if we had the playoff system, we would have made the playoffs 6 times, and just with all the talent that we have on the team. It's just another opportunity for us to showcase our talents, and then for me personally, I just want to be the best teammate I can be, one of the best defenders on the team, and be the best version of myself, improve my chances going to the next level, but that overall just helping the team become better.
When you found out that these 2 guys were coming back for their 5th and 6th years, what were you?
I was excited, playing with these 2 guys for the last my whole time since I was here. It's been a great blessing to play with these guys. They both are great teammates. Especially Tyler Warren. I'm more with Tyler Warren more than I'm with Dvon, even though Dvon's on defense. I go against Tyler Warren every single day. He's a great competitor. Great player, great teammate. So it's exciting to see that they came back for their last year to play with me again.
And you guys have a new defensive coordinator in Tom Allen, who, from what I understand, recruited you to Indiana.
Yes.
So you had a relationship with him
yes.
before he took over. Well, obviously, a great defensive mind. What has he brought, and what would have been the changes now that Manny Diaz is now coaching over at Duke?
Me personally, I think Coach Tom Allen, he's brought a great aspect and a mental aspect of the game of football. He's made me think differently in the mental aspect of the game of football. Usually it's all about physical, how to tackle, But one thing Coach Allen does a great job of just breaking down each and every play and learning the ins and outs of defense, When you learn the ins and outs of defense, it make you play fast and all your natural talents come out naturally. So I feel like he's done a great job of that, and I appreciate him, And I feel like we're going to do great things with Coach Allen this year. So I'm excited to see what he brings.
100%.
Anything to add to that?
I mean, he's just brought new lifeblood to the building. Just his energy, his approach to the game has been just different. But I think it's one that we've needed. The younger guys coming in, just our standard and our level of play hasn't dropped in the slightest. In fact, it's raised some with Coach Allen. And so we appreciate him for that truly, because he comes into the building every day ready to work, ready to put his best foot forward, and he's never not himself. So that's exactly what we need in the building.
Well, there's plenty of reasons to be excited about the defense and what you guys did last year in 3 shutouts, and we'll get more to that. But let's talk about this offense. You have a new offensive coordinator. Drew Allard, you think about it, 25 touchdowns and 2 interceptions last year. The numbers were really impressive. Coming into his 2nd year as the guy, the starter, what have you seen from your quarterback?
Yeah, I think, when you talk about his performance last year, it kind of showed his maturity at a young age. It was his first year starting, and be that safe with the football and protect the ball is a really important thing as a quarterback. So I think just having that first year under his belt and then being able to become more of a vocal leader, I've seen him kind of pick that up this offseason. He's a little more comfortable. So I think it's been really good. And the offense as a whole, I feel like we're as close a unit as we've been since I've been here. So really just getting behind him and having his back, he's got our back, playing as one unit. It's going to be really fun this year. Tell
him to just keep throwing the ball to the tight ends in the end zone, right? That's the playbook?
Yeah. That's the game plan.
I am curious, though, the impact of coach-to-player communication on the headset. That's one of the new rules in addition to the 18 tablets that you guys are going to be able to have on the sidelines. Yeah. Has that been something – have you guys been practicing that? I mean, I know Drew's the one that's going to be listening to Coach calling plays, but how does that impact you guys, or how have you seen it show up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not that crazy of a thing. I guess it's just less signals you really have to learn, because now there won't be that need for really all the signals and stuff like that, or different ways to get the plays in. But other than that, still, just like huddle up like normal. So it's not a crazy thing, but I think it will be a benefit for us and make it a little bit easier for just all the extra stuff that had to go into calling plays before.
And how about the tablets? Again, I know this is like a coaching question more than anything, but the in-game adjustments, Chris Peterson, who's one of the coaching greats, said this might be the great equalizer.
Yeah.
So tell me about.
There's a lot more fluidity in that, you know what I mean, in terms of how we play, what we're seeing out there, corrections happen immediately as opposed to, okay, maybe we see it now, maybe I'll come off the sideline and say, okay, this is what I seen, this is what happened, X, Y, Z, and then you correct it later off assumptions. But now with the iPads, you can actually see everything, how it played out, where there was a misfire, and you fix it immediately. There's no miscommunication anymore as to, okay, what happened here or what happened there, X, Y, Z. Now it's right in front of you. So,
I read that you committed to Penn State at the Polynesian Bowl. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you ultimately picked Penn State over USC?
Yeah, Penn State over USC. What's funny about that is, actually, I committed to Penn State like months before that, but I committed to announce it on CBS at the Polynesian Bowl, so I had to keep it on the reps.
Ooh.
I signed the paperwork in my parents' car on signing day at 7 o'clock in the morning before class, and then I went to class. But I had actually committed in November after my OV. So it was crazy.
That was a long time ago now. What do you remember about, you think and you have as much information as you can have about why you want to choose Penn State, but what ultimately was going through your mind, and how did you decide that this was the right place for you?
It was the stability. Coach Franklin has been coaching for an incredibly long time. And then along with that, the pedigree that goes into Penn State, the amount of talent that they've produced over the last 10 plus years, what have you. And then you have the amount of players that are coming in. Like my class had incredibly talented players. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And then you have the family-oriented space. And then it just allowed me space to grow, not only as a player, but as a man. So I appreciate Penn State tremendously for that, because I've grown tremendously since my first day to my last day coming up soon. So
yeah, it is wild to think about, and one of the questions I actually would love to ask all of you, because this always elicits some good responses. If you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self something, maybe give him a piece of advice, warn him about something, maybe tell him to do something or not do something, what would you go? If you could go back and tell your 18-year-old Jaylen self, what would you say?
Me personally, I would definitely stay in the house more as a college student, And me young, when I was young, man, I was going out a lot freshman year. I would say definitely, if I go back and tell myself, I stay to the course and stay focused more as a young guy, because the quicker you learn the process of college and the quicker you learn the process of Penn State, it helps you longer in the long run, Not me learning sophomore year or junior year. I could have learned it faster freshman year, but I'm still happy with my process and the way I came up here, so.
Yeah, good answer. Stay in the house more. I like that. How about you?
That's just me.
I'll probably say just be you. It's not a matter of if it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when. Be consistent. Try to, be better. You're 1%. What they tell you, enjoy it. Because the days are gonna go by fast. Years fly, months are slow, and then days just come and go. So enjoy it.
Yeah, like Dvon said, really enjoy it though.
Enjoy it.
Me up here right now it's just a true blessing. I can't believe my life is just going so fast like this, and I'm almost done. My career is almost done at Penn State, and I feel like I just got here, I just feel like you just gotta enjoy the process, man. Enjoy every moment of it. That's what I'm trying to do my last year here. Just enjoy everything with each and one of my teammates. Keep going over each other's houses. Keep spending time with each other. Just I don't got a lot of time left, especially the young guys that I'm trying to mold into older guys when I leave, so they can lead a tradition going and lead a standard uphold. So I say, me personally, just enjoying the process, but just being where your feet is and being in the moment. I say one thing.
You guys are speaking to this old lady's heart, because I do think it's so easy, especially when you're younger, to not realize where you are in the moment and to be looking ahead and wanting the next thing and wanting to build and grow and get to that next place. And you are in a really special moment in your lives right now. So I love that answer. Anything you would add?
For me, it was more just understanding that everyone's process is a little bit different. So, because when I came as a freshman and maybe wasn't at the spot I want to be at, and I was kind of not sure if college football was going to be something I could actually do for real, but just understanding everyone's got to grow differently, and it takes a while to get to a certain spot to be able to play at this high of a level. Some guys can come in and do it right away, and some guys need a year or two, so that was really the big thing for me.
Well, you guys have all been putting in the work for a long time, and there's a reason why the three of you are sitting up here representing Penn State heading into what's going to be an exciting year. I want to take a look at your schedule because I think you guys have one of the most exciting regular season schedules that I've seen. You open up at West Virginia, and then you also get, as I mentioned off the top, 3 of the 4 new schools. You play at USC, and then you got Washington and UCLA at home. Huskies are the whiteout game. That's going to be bananas. When you look at this, like what jumps out to you? What excites you the most?
West Virginia. It's the first game. It's the season opener. I mean, we got to get past West Virginia to get to Washington. I mean, we got to get past West Virginia to get to Bowling Green. So West Virginia is probably the most exciting game.
It's a hornet's nest down there. That's what Coach Franklin called it. That place is
I can't wait to see what that place brings, and the environment. Keep hearing Coach Franklin talk about it. I've never been, so I never even took a visit. So I'm waiting to see, excited to see West Virginia at that place.
West Virginia at home is going to be crazy. Oh, and he's a Virginia guy, so, West Virginia right around the corner.
Not West Virginia.
Still,
right around the corner.
Tomato.
Yeah.
No, it is exciting. I mean, it's wild, and I think about Penn State and USC at the Coliseum, October 12th. Do you guys remember? I don't know what grade you're in. 2017, that Rose Bowl.
No, I remember it.
Yeah, no, I remember.
I remember it.
I was a junior, I think, in high school, or sophomore or junior in high school. That's crazy. No, that game was crazy. It was electric, though.
It was
electric.
Yeah, talk about time going fast.
That was with Saquon and them.
Yeah, what? Saquon had that long run. Oh, my goodness.
It was back and forth and back and forth.
Cut.
Okay, one thing before we let you guys go. I like to think of, you get a lot of football questions. I would like to ask you maybe one non-football question. Have you had any really good questions so far at Media Day that are non-football related?
It's been a few good ones.
Yeah, okay, good. Share them with me. I can steal one. I got some here.
Lee, man, you got me on this spot.
Okay, all right. One of the ones I heard was if your teammate was a type of food, what would he be? Which no. That was one that I just walked by and overheard, so we can leave that one. Okay, songs you are listening to most right now. Like if we were gonna pull up your whatever at Pandora, Spotify, whatever. You
can I look at it?
You can cheat, sure. That's fine.
Nah, I got. Oh, go ahead, bro.
Go ahead.
I got Jersey Drake. Yeah, I got whatever Drake. I play
any
it all.
Drake. Cool.
Drake.
I've been listening to Lil Baby a lot lately.
Okay.
Lil Baby.
I'm going Alan Jackson or George Strait.
There you go.
Old school.
He's got a different genre over there.
I'm with you on that one. I like that vibe. All right, gentlemen, enjoy the rest of the day. Good luck in camp, and we cannot wait to watch you play all those awesome games and against all those wonderful teams. Best of luck.
Appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
One of the biggest stories here at Big Ten Media Days, the addition of 4 new schools to the Big Ten, including USC. Lincoln Riley, entering his 3rd year at the helm of the Trojans, came from Oklahoma, where he won 55 of his 65 games. To say he's known for developing quarterbacks would be an understatement. Has coached 3 of the last 8 Heisman winners, the only coach ever to have 3 Heisman-winning quarterbacks. And Lincoln Riley joining us now as we continue our coverage here from Indianapolis. And Coach, obviously geography's different, opponents are different. Aside from kind of those obvious things, what do you see as the biggest difference for your team and your school as you enter the Big Ten?
Yeah, I think you said it. I mean, to me, it's the opponents. It's the new matchups, the new rivalries that this is going to create. And I think anytime you go into a different conference, there's a little bit of an adjustment period, right? You're getting to know the new opponents. They're getting to know you. You're starting to evolve your strategies on, how you're going to try and be competitive, how you're going to try and beat these different opponents week in and week out. And to me, that's the fun part of it. That's the chess match right behind the scenes, whether it's strategy, whether it's who you're recruiting, how you construct the rosters, development. We're getting ready to get into revenue share, where you allocate your salary cap, right? All of that's coming here, and that's good to me with the collection of teams and programs that we have now here in the Big Ten. What an incredible storyline and opportunity that it makes.
We were joking a little bit with Kirk Ferentz and saying we want to be the first people to ask you about your offense. So in the same vein, I'd like to be the first person to ask you about your defense. I'm sure no one has asked you about it all here today.
Yeah, this will be the first one.
First one. Well, we're groundbreaking here. We really are. Dan Lynn's a great hire, and we saw what an amazing job he did at UCLA. We remember him as a student athlete when he was at Penn State up on the desk with us, which tells you how long the 3 of us have been doing this.
Robert, what's even scarier is I remember him running 110s with his dad at practice. So We go way back.
We go way back with Dan. Now, he's clearly a fabulous hire. What has he brought that you think will help you guys defensively?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the experience of not only the job he did at UCLA last year, as you mentioned, the biggest turnaround defensively in college football, but also just his NFL experience. He's worked for some great head coaches, some great defensive coordinators, and he's really has a tremendous mind, I think, not just for the game defensively, but just as a teacher. And I think that's, sometimes gets lost is there's still, for these guys, even the guy that's a big recruit or a player that comes out of the portal, there's still a lot of development that has to be done. And I still think it comes down to, can you reach and develop and really teach people? And Danton's got a unique ability to do it. He just does. It's within the first 30, 45 minutes that we talked, I could tell that this guy was a little bit different, and I knew pretty quickly that I wanted him to be the next defensive coordinator at USC. And I'm excited because we've been able to surround him with a tremendous defensive staff. Matt Itz from North Dakota State, who was the head coach there, won multiple national championships. We brought over Eric Henderson from the Los Angeles Rams, who left coaching a guy named Aaron Donald to come coach our D-line at USC. Doug Belk, who was the defensive coordinator at Houston, is now our secondary coach. So excited about Danton, but equally excited about the guys around him that we were able to build.
Coach, there's a narrative about the Pac-12 biggest adjustment to the Big Ten is the line of scrimmage. I'm not sure that's true, but as you've studied the Big Ten schools, is there any truth to that?
I think there's some really good line of scrimmage play in the Big Ten, and I think we'll have some real challenges there. But I think we're coming in with some schools that have the ability to do that as well, and so it'll be a challenge. It'll be a key, but we're not coming in with a gun that's not loaded, right? Yeah, I certainly don't feel that way at all. But that's always been a big part of this conference. It's a big part of winning games, especially later in the season. We know that, we've seen that, and so and certainly when you put all these teams together, now all of a sudden you've got a lot of great programs, you've got multiple blue bloods in this conference. It's going to take a lot to win it, and that's certainly going to be a big factor.
Coach, you've coached multiple Heisman Trophy winners. What's the difference between coaching those guys and coaching someone who is trying to get to that level? How does that help you as a play caller and also as a team as they develop?
Yeah, I think even with the guys that have, won those awards or won other awards, you still just remember the journey, like even what it was like with those guys before, they did those things. And I think you appreciate the personal relationships and the time that you have with these people, the time, spent to get to that level. I think, one thing that I've tried to pride myself on and always worked hard to do is the trust of the players, that they really trust you as a coach, because no matter how good they are, no matter how good your coaching points are, how good you are X's and O's or anything like that, if they don't fully believe in every single syllable that comes out of your mouth, you got no chance. And so I think establishing that trust has been a big part of it, and maybe one of the things that, if I were to say, has been one of the keys, I would point to that first.
Yeah. How has the change in conference impacted recruiting?
I think two ways. I think one, it's opening us up even more to a different area of the country. Now, we are a program, and we're fortunate that we do have a national following and are a national brand. So I don't know that any place has been like off limits, but at the same time, I do see the interest, more from, the Midwest and more from the Northeast, maybe even more than it was before, because we're going to be playing some games in this part of the country, and those teams are going to be coming out to play us, and we're going to be, on TV in a lot of these areas, and you feel that a little bit more. So I felt like that's accelerated, and the openness in those areas has certainly improved. And even before we've played a Big Ten game, you look at kind of what we signed last year. I mean, we signed guys from Minnesota. We signed guys from Michigan. Right. I mean, we got out and did some work in some of those areas before a snap was even taken.
What are some of the keys that you want to get done as you get ready to go into training camp and prepare this team for the next phase, for this upcoming season? What are some of the things that are at the top of your mind?
Yeah, I think continuing the defensive implementation of the schemes, the mentality. That's we felt like we made up some great ground this spring, but that certainly will be a big part of training camp. We've still got several new players that came in, a few guys from the portal, some of our high school guys that did not graduate early, so getting those guys integrated within the team. And then I think, you're starting to figure out here, now that you've got the whole team, who you're going to play with, what kind of personnel groupings you're going to use, starting to look ahead at the matchups that you've got come up and start to prepare yourself for it. So it's the best time of the year.
Coach, it's interesting. Jerry was talking about the line of scrimmage, and again, we're talking in generalities, and you've got 18 programs, and each one of them is a little bit different. But I do think we can certainly vouch for there have been some elite defenses in this league in recent years, and I think last year was really one of the best defensive years we've seen in this league in quite some time. The programs that are coming in, a lot of them, yours included, are known for really good offenses. So tell me about the adjustment period. Like, how much do you think that schools will have to adjust to you? How much do you think they'll have to adjust to them? What's the push and pull there?
Yeah, well, hopefully we make them adjust a lot, right? That's the plan.
Right.
Yeah, it's going to happen on both sides, right? Like, I do think there has been a little bit of a notion of all the schools coming in of how, we all have to adjust to this league, and we certainly do. But, like, this league to me now is a combination of all of us, and we're all going to have to adjust to each other. And that's going to be – there will be an evolution to that, right? That'll start this year, and it's just going to grow more and more each year as you learn each other, you learn people's personalities, you learn their roster, you start to devise, all right, how are we going to beat these people? How are we going to find our competitive advantages? So, certainly we hope we do enough good things for people to have to adjust to us, but we certainly understand that we're all going to have to make some adjustments to do well early in this new Big Ten.
Let's talk about some of those people that you have to beat, starting with Michigan. This will be just the second time that USC has played on campus at the Big House, the first time in nearly 70 years, and that's your first conference road game. Tell me what it means to open up with a game of that magnitude, an opponent who's the defending national champ. Like, how does that enter into the equation as you think about the season?
No, it's tremendous. I mean, I think it's a big compliment because I think it's pretty clear the Big Ten wanted this to be the first game. And I think it's fitting that it's in a, it's in a venue that has been a host of that has obviously been a Big Ten venue. Like, I think it all makes sense. Right, we're the newcomer to the league. I understand that, and so getting these two iconic programs and brands together right in the beginning, I think, is really, really cool. Now, obviously, tremendous football team. They've got a lot of changes. Obviously, coaching staff, a lot of personnel changes. That's just part of the world in college football. But listen, they've recruited well for many years. Coach Moore's not taking on like a program that's like down in the dumps by any stretch, right? So like we know it's going to be a really good football team, and obviously there's going to be a lot of attention and excitement around that game.
Howard was asking you kind of generally about quarterback play. I want to dig down a little bit and just tell us about Miller Moss. I know you got a transfer too who's going to be in the mix, but I had a chance to meet Miller when I was out there for your practice. Really impressive kid. Physically certainly looks the part, and we saw the job that he did in your bowl game. Taking over for Caleb Williams for a #1 pick for a guy who won the Heisman, that's not an easy thing to do, but how has he kind of adjusted and fit into that role?
I think he's handled it well. I mean, in a lot of ways, the Holiday Bowl became a test drive. I think for him, for all of us, a chance to get out there to play, to prepare like a starter, and obviously handled it very, very well. And that's the key for him. Like, he's, whether it's Miller, Jaden, whoever it becomes, like, you're not essentially replacing anybody, you're just the next guy. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to have that mentality. It's the same conversations I had with, Kyler when Baker left, and so on and so forth. Like, it's important to be your own person. And Miller's handled it extremely well. He's a really, really smart player. And I think most of all, he's just heavily respected in that locker room. He's one of the guys that hung around. A guy that could have left early. Kirk could have went and played somewhere else when he wasn't the starter, but he loves USC. He loves being at that place, and it's cool to see him in this position.
Coach, you're a play caller, which not a lot of head coaches are, especially at a place like USC, a giant in college football. Have you ever thought that there may come a day when you give that up just because of all the other things that you have to do?
I have. The last few years have made me think about it a little bit more than the first several. I have. I don't. want to do anything other than like what's best for the program, right? Like that is the most important thing to me, is like whatever I feel is going to best help us win, that's what I'm going to do. I've certainly made some adjustments in the last few years to allow me to do the things that I need to do. An example would be, I gave over the quarterback coaching duties this year to Luke Heward, who was on our staff and is a fabulous coach, to allow me to break off and be more present in other areas, which has went great. But I still feel that, we've had a decent track record in terms of, offense and being able to call it, especially with the staff that we have offensively. Feel good about being present in other areas, but still being able to do a good job on game day to put our guys in such good situations.
Mike Leach is one of your mentors, or
Yes.
was one of your mentors. Does that factor into the decision? Because he never stopped calling plays. But he never had a job like Southern Cal.
He didn't. No, he didn't. I mean, I think, when I first got the Oklahoma job, Steve Spurrier called me, and one of the first things he told me was, don't ever give up calling plays. And now obviously a lot has changed.
It's a different day.
It has. And if I ever get to the point where I feel like I'm not serving the program in the other areas, I would give it up in a heartbeat. But if I do feel like that I can do it and help our team win and still be where I need to be on the other parts of the program, that's what I'm going to try and do.
As your younger players were prepping for the bowl game, do you think you were further along because of that preparation, that 6 weeks that they got to play because guys elected not to play?
100%.
And how far has that gotten you?
100%. Literally, it's almost like we got 2 spring practices. I mean, in a way, and not just the work on the field. I think just like the vibe and the feel of this team started then. Like there was just something really special about the way that group came together for that game. Because I remind people, Louisville had a heck of a season. They had, I think 2 offensive players opt out. They didn't have any defensive players opt out. I mean, like that was, we played them pretty close to full strength. And for us to go do what we did against a really good football team like that, given what had happened for us, was I thought super impressive by our young players and the way they handled that moment. And it's like, we just kind of latched on to something there, and it just feels like everything since then has just been an extension of that.
Is it a way to build that?
It takes you want to build on it, but you have to have the right people with the right mindset. And I think our guys handled that tumultuous time well, and the benefit you get out of it is the confidence and the togetherness coming out of it, and really creating momentum going into this year.
Lincoln Riley, thrilled to have USC in the Big Ten. Thrilled to have you in the Big Ten. Really appreciate your time, and we look forward to covering the Trojans in the years to come.
So I'm here. Thank you, guys.
It is a new era here in the Big Ten. The USC Trojans coming into Lucas Oil Stadium earlier today for their first Big Ten Media Day experience here in Indianapolis. Miller Moss, Jonah Monheim, Kamari Ramsey repping the Trojans as you take a look at what's coming up year 3 under Lincoln Riley. We just heard from the Trojans head coach, and a lot of excitement. Obviously, Miller Moss taking over for Caleb Williams. Talked to him about what that's like. A terrific Holiday Bowl performance. 15 starters gone. So we'll find out what's going to happen with the defense. Danson Lynn brought in from UCLA as their new defensive coordinator. Gentlemen, so many storylines to talk to you about, but first and foremost, welcome. It feels a little more real now. You've got the Big Ten logos, and you're at Big Ten Media Day. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a blessing to be here.
Does it feel, Miller, you walked over and you said this feels a little bit more real.
Yeah, definitely. It's always just kind of been like an afterthought, like we're going to the Big Ten, like that's going to happen. But really being here and kind of making it tangible makes it feel more real.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think I love your story, because in this day and age, patience is not always a virtue, and you are a rarity in college athletics. You're an LA kid. You always wanted to be a Trojan, but you've waited 4 years to get your chance to be the guy, and you made your starting debut in the Holiday Bowl last year. 6 touchdowns, record-setting performance, threw for 370 yards. What was that moment like for you, and what has the journey, how would you describe, for Big Ten fans who are getting to know your story, how would you describe your journey?
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a very special moment for myself and I think the team. I think after a kind of rough stretch in the back half of the season, it was really positive for us to come together throughout that bowl prep and in preparation for that game, and ultimately come out of that game with a win. I think it was really positive for us, not only for that individual moment, but going into the next offseason. And I think when it comes to my journey, it's been an interesting one. Like you said, it's somewhat of an anomaly. within college football this day, given the transfer portal and NIL and that landscape. But I truly have a ton of love for this university. I have a ton of love for the staff, and obviously a ton of love for the players in the locker room, and I'm completely committed to them. So, yeah, I love this place, and I'm hopefully going to deliver a lot more wins this year.
Yeah, no, I think Trojan fans are fired up. And Jonah, I see you smiling and nodding your head when you're hearing your quarterback talk. You've trained with him. You know what he brings to the table for him to have that moment. And for you guys as a team, I think there were a lot of players that got to debut and really show what they can do that didn't get a chance to play during the season in the bowl game. So what was the significance of that game, and how are you feeling coming into this season?
Yeah, like he said, that was a great moment for our team at the end of last year, showing a lot of the work that those guys had done up to that point to get that breakout moment and end the season the right way after a season had gone, not the way that we wanted. And again, building on to this next year, a lot of those guys are going to be significant contributors that we're going to count on day after day and game after game. So it was great for them.
Lincoln Riley's teams are always going to put up points. Offense is what he is known for. The defensive side of the ball is where he made some changes. Danton Lynn, the defensive coordinator, comes in from UCLA. And Kamari, you came with him. For people who don't know your story, you decide to transfer across town to the USC Trojans. What has this been like? And you kind of came in as the new guy, but you knew the system better than a lot of other guys that were there. So what has this last few months been like for you?
Just answering any questions that people have. Coach Lynn kind of goes through the install kind of quick. So just being that extension of him and helping the team learn the defense faster, just being that leader that we need, and just being any help that people need.
He said you were like a coach on the field, how wonderful it was for him to come in and have somebody like you in the locker room who knows the system and what he wants to do. How would you describe his defensive mindset, his system? What are we going to see on this side of the ball?
Very aggressive. He doesn't let the offense dictate what we do. He dictates what the offense wants to do. So I just like how aggressive he is, and not playing soft, not playing soft. Just bringing being aggressive and blitzing. And he always has the right game plan, and he's a great coach.
Well, we got a small sample size in the USC spring game, which I was at, and I will say it was no offense to the offense, but the defense was dominant, which is, I think, for Trojans fans watching, that probably was nice for them to see. So from your perspective, Miller, tell me about where the defense is at.
Yeah, definitely. I would say it's night and day when it comes to this year and last year. I think going against, obviously, guys like Kamari, Easton, who came in, Mason Cobb, along with a lot of really special players in the secondary, makes it difficult for me as a quarterback, but also makes me better. I think you can kind of see Coach Lynn's NFL pedigree in going against him, and that he forces me to continue to be in the right spots every single time. And if I try to gamble or do something unnecessary, try to take chances that aren't necessarily there, he always makes me pay. So he definitely makes me better as a quarterback and as a player, and that's something that I really value in practice, and I think that helps me get the most out of my practice time. So I'm very grateful to them, but also really, really excited to see what they do this year.
Yeah, I mean, and some of the new coaches, I mean, Bad Ents and Eric Henderson, just Doug Belk, your position coach, there is some wonderful talent on this staff, one of the best staffs that we've seen in college football. I want to talk to you about some of the guys on offense that you're excited to watch. You lose your top 2 pass catchers, you lose your top 2 rushers from a year ago, but you have Zachariah Branch back. Talk to me about what he brings to the team and to the locker room.
No doubt. Zach's a dynamic playmaker. He's a really hard worker. He's a great teammate, and overall he's a great dude. He had a good freshman season, and he's certainly looking to build on that. And, those other receivers in his class are pretty talented. They're pretty good too. They're a little slept on, but, Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, Deuce Robinson, those other guys came in with Zach Branch, and they're all also extremely talented and extremely hard workers.
Is there anyone you have felt early chemistry with right now that you feel the most comfortable with?
Yeah, I mean, Jonah mentioned it, but all those guys are really special talents, and are all very different receivers. Like Zach can beat you in certain ways that Jacoby might not be able to, and Jacoby can beat you in certain ways that Zach or Mekhi Lemon might not be able to. I do want to shout out Jacoby and Mekhi. I feel like, Zach obviously gets a lot of well-deserved attention, but those guys have had great off seasons, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do this year.
Love that. Spread the love. Got
exactly.
options. That's
have to.
good.
Yeah.
Who makes your life hard in practice?
For sure, Zach and Mekhi. I'm not really lined up outside that much, but in the slot, for sure, Mekhi and Zach. Those are the 2 that I go against most of the time, and those are the 2 toughest matchups, I would say.
You mentioned Easton Mascarenas-Arnold from Oregon State, a huge boost again to this defense. What's it like playing defense with him, and what has he brought to this team?
Yeah, he's very vocal. He's always talking, always communicating, which helps everyone else get lined up and know their job. And then he's a thumper. He's gonna bring the heat. Yeah, very physical, and he's sideline to sideline.
A thumper. I like that. Okay, so let's talk about what Big Ten fans who are watching this, who are just kind of getting to know you guys, obviously know the brand, but this team and what makes USC football special. What's something that is unique? I mean, you guys all picked USC for a reason at various times, but what is the unique defining factor of Trojan football?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously we have an incredible history, a lot of rich tradition at USC, and you know, we honor the people that played before us every time we step onto that field. And this team right now, you know, the way that we got to this point where we're at, we're a very hungry team. Obviously, we were not, you know, who we wanted to be last year, and we're making steps to hopefully be who we want to be this year. And I think, you know, hopefully that separates us apart from, you know, what we were last year and who we are now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think like Jonah said, the tradition at USC is really, really special. But I think what makes us unique is the combination of a bunch of things. I think obviously one being the tradition, two being the people in that building, whether it's coaches, staff, support staff, whatever it may be, obviously players, and then obviously the school and the location. So I think it's a multitude of things that makes the place really special, and I don't think you can really find that combination anywhere else.
Anything you'd add to that? It's pretty well said.
Well said.
Yeah,
well said.
yeah. Okay, I got to ask before we go, because we just got a couple minutes left. I talked to your mom, Emily, a few months ago before the spring game, and I was looking back at those notes, and she gave me a lot of great stuff. But one of the stories that she told me that stuck in my mind was she was talking about that you've just been a natural-born leader, that you've always kind of had that in you from a very young age. And I said, well, give me an example. And she said, in second grade, you dressed up as Alexander the Great. Do you remember this? Does that ring a bell?
Yeah,
yes.
I remember
And
that.
she said she came in for, you know, everyone had to pick a historical figure. She came into the classroom and you were just being swarmed by all the other second graders who just wanted to be around you. And the teacher looked at her and said, this is just what Miller is. Like, do you think this is okay? And so she saw from a very early age as Alexander the Great that you were a terrific leader. Do you feel like it's come naturally to you? And do you have any fun facts about Alexander the Great that you remember?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about colonizing Greece and Eastern Europe or Persia, wherever. I don't know. I may be wrong on that, so don't quote me. But yeah, I mean, I think when you're a younger kid, if you're one of the better athletes, then kids naturally gravitate towards you. And I think I've been able to continue that success in some respect and excel in certain areas. And I think when you're good at things, you're forced to, or when you excel in athletics a little bit, you're forced to lead the people around you and be in that position. I've been lucky to be in that position for a while, and it's somewhere that I'm comfortable, but also want to continue to push myself to grow in a lot of ways, because like leadership obviously it's not uniform. You know, you can't lead Jonah the same way you lead Kamari, the same way I'm sure they would say the same about me. Like, he can't talk to me in the same way that he talks to him. So I think I'm just trying to continue to learn and continue to be the best leader I can be every single day.
It takes a village, no doubt about it. You guys, terrific catching up with you. It's great to see you here, and I'm going to be on campus in a few weeks for the Big Ten Fall Camp Tour, so we'll talk about what you did on summer vacation when we come back with that, because we don't have time for all of the trips that you made. Good luck this season.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
We are back in Indy. Matt Rhule, the head Husker, entering his second year in Lincoln. 5 wins in year one. Known for quick turnarounds. Took Baylor from 11 losses to 11 wins in 2 seasons. Great success at Temple as well. 2 10-win seasons there. Now looking to replicate that at Nebraska. We're back inside Lucas Oil Stadium. Dave Revson, Yogi Roth, Jake Butt, now joined by Matt Rhule. And Coach, I know every job is different, and so I was talking about the success you had at Baylor and the success you had at Temple. That being said, Nebraska's different than those places. So what did you learn, not about yourself as a coach, but about Nebraska in particular, that you think can help you achieve another one of those improvements in year 2?
Well, I think the thing that I learned was the roster was already full of a lot of really great guys and a lot of talent. And I mean, we had a tough year, but if you lose 5 games by a field goal or overtime, some teams would quit. Our guys came back week after week after week. So the good thing about year 1 was we all got to see each other in tough times, and we found out we're all pretty resilient. We're all pretty tough. So make a couple steps this year. I already know that we have the right stuff inside of us, which I think can help us flip it.
You talk about making steps this year, and offense was really the area where you needed to get better. where have you seen the biggest strides? Obviously, cognizant of the fact you haven't had preseason camp yet, but just in terms of the spring and the offseason.
I thought the biggest jump we made this spring was in the passing game and was really at the receiver positions. You know, last year was unfortunate. We had some injuries. Some of the guys we were counting on at receiver to play were hurt. We had to put some freshmen in there. And those guys they grew up. They're sophomores now. They know what it's like to be in the 2-minute drill against Michigan State to win the game. And while we didn't get it done, they had to make those plays. So those guys grew up, brought in a couple players to help them, and I think we have a dynamic group.
Coach, you recently said on Joel Klatt's podcast that when you're rebuilding, you got to dig down, and you learn a lot when you dig deeper and deeper and deeper under the surface. But it's also a different generation than when you were at Temple, when you were at Baylor. What have you learned that might be unique about this generation of players when you challenge them to dig down to find success? I
think a lot of it's talking to their parents too, talking to the people around them. You know, parents are more involved now than ever, and that's probably a good thing. You know, it's a great thing. So talking to the people that matter, and I just think being transparent. You know, like I'm happy to share with our guys, like, hey, you know, you guys put up there I was Coach of the Year. I was also a meme for a year on ESPN after getting fired, you know, on Twitter. So, you know, like there's highs, there's lows. Like just keep showing up and being consistent. And I think when you're honest enough with the guys to share your own highs and lows, they'll maybe listen to you a little bit more.
I was also listening to Joel Klatt's podcast.
There we go. Look at us. Look at us. Just fanning
out
our
listenership on this.
Shout out to Joel Klatt. Yeah. He asked some great questions, and I wanted to ask him ask a question that he asked you. We talked about the success of your turnarounds at Baylor and Temple, but I thought you gave a great answer to what you learned from the challenges from your time in the NFL, specifically with the Panthers. And I just wanted to ask you that same question. What did you learn from your time with the Panthers?
Yeah, I learned that, like, leadership, it's easy to lead when things are going well. I mean, you have to lead. Like I felt like I did probably a lot of things right, a lot of things wrong, but I felt like those last weeks, up until the time I got fired, man, I still was a great dad, and I tried to be a great husband, and I tried to be a great leader to the guys. I tried to, if bullets were going to get fired, they're going to get fired at me. They didn't go at anybody else, and that's why some of those guys, they stay in touch with me to this day. And so coming into Nebraska, wanting to be that same type of leader from the very beginning, wanting to build those relationships and connections. You know, you go to the NFL, you think it's one thing, but it's people. And so, man, I'm at Nebraska. I want to enjoy this year, and I want to watch these guys grow in their lives on and off the field. And so I think that personal connection, probably didn't do it well enough early enough in the NFL, but I did do it at the end, and I've tried to just triple it at Nebraska.
When it comes to quarterback play, so often now in the recruiting game, it's this label is on you. This expectation is on you. Clearly, that's happened with Dillon, one of the biggest recruits in the history of Nebraska football. How are you front-loading like the mental skills necessary to be able to operate in a world where so many people are telling you how good you are, how bad you are, where you need to improve?
Yeah, I think expectation is the thing that holds people back. You know, like you're drafted in the first round, you better play this way. You're drafted in the fourth round, you're a top recruit, oh, you're a walk-on. Like so often we play to our expectations. I want our guys to play the game because they love playing the game. I want them to find joy in going out there and competing and practicing. There's going to be highs, there's going to be lows, but you know what? You can't have highs if you don't have lows, and you have to embrace the lows. You have to learn from them. And so whether it's Dillon, whether it's Carter Nelson, whether it's Danny Kalen, any of these guys we signed that are big-time recruits, when they get started, that's over. Now the journey begins, and I want them to embrace the adversity every bit as much as they embrace the good times.
Just to continue with Dillon Raiola, just how young he is, and watching the spring game, just how poised he looked. He didn't look as young as he really was. And I'm just curious, now that you've had a few months to get to know him, watch how he operates within the program, what has impressed you the most about his character?
Yeah, he was born to play quarterback. I mean, it just, you know, he has the arm talent, but the game makes sense to him. It's a lot of players, they can operate systems. Dillon's playing football. You know, he understands the game. You know, his dad, obviously 14 years in the NFL, you know, he understands the O-line side. I love the fact that he's this big recruit. He came in and, man, he just worked. He just did the mat drills. He didn't think he wasn't supposed to do. He didn't have a lot of opinions. He just worked and earned the players' respect. He's got a lot of work to do. College football's hard, but I know this. He's going to be there at 6 o'clock in the morning. He's going to be there at 5 o'clock at night, and I think players respect that.
What's your process in terms of deciding when a starter has earned the right to be named the starter by you?
I think it's always when we know we know. for me right now, I've got Heinrich Harburg, who won 5 games as a starting quarterback in Nebraska last year. Like that, not many guys have done that recently. And I've got Danny Kalen, who's one of the top recruits in the country, Elite 11. And I've got Dillon, who's one of the top recruits in the country. And they've all had these great moments. I feel like after this summer, they've earned the right to come in and show us this camp what they've done and what they can do. And we dream about the day that we play January 20th, and it's going to take a lot of players to get through a 16-game season. So we'll compete it out. It'll be fun. They'll have high moments and low moments, but when we know, we know.
This may not be the sexiest question, but I want to talk to you about special teams.
Thank you. I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
Because, I mean, that was an issue going back even before you got here. And then when you talk about, all the close games, like the margin for error is razor thin. So special teams always plays a factor. Certainly is a big factor for your team. What strides has your special team unit taken this offseason?
Well, I thought we did some really great things on special teams last year at times. Mm-hmm. So we beat Northwestern, and how do we beat them? We block a field goal, run it back for a touchdown. Even in the Iowa game, we stay in the game by we block 2 field goals. So there's a lot of things to build off of. And we had a rookie kicker. He had some big moments. He had some times to work. So I just feel like now we have a kicker coming into a second year. We have a senior punter. We have a senior snapper. The guys don't understand the emphasis we put on special teams, and that is our advantage in these games.
I hope this is a sexy question, Coach. I want to talk about the defense. Okay, you came from the NFL. You spent a lot of time there. Teams, when they see an opponent have success doing something like you did in the 3-3-5 defense a year ago, they spend an entire offseason finding out how to beat this defense. What are you anticipating from offenses that you'll see the second time or the first time in this revamped league?
I think the key is to go back and watch the teams who had success against you. Take Michigan out of it because they're just so elitely talented, right? But, go back and watch the Wisconsin game and how, Coach Longo put speed at number 3 and tried to take advantage of that. Find the people that found a wrinkle, and as a defense, prepare for it. I can't say enough how brilliant Tony White is. It's not just some scheme that I only do this. He will change what he's doing, even in games sometimes, based upon his player. Sometimes I'm on the headset saying, "Oh, Tony, what are we doing?" But he's just a savant, and so he'll continue to evolve. We'll be good on defense, I believe.
I feel like all the close games, once again, there's like a fork in the road. I remember my freshman year at Michigan, we were 7-6 and lost 5 of those games by a total of 11 points. So it's like you're close. It didn't actually benefit us the next year. For your team, you'd like for those close games to benefit you, and I'm just curious what you can share with us about the messaging to your roster and how you can learn from those adverse times to, hopefully get to that 8, 9, 10 win mark this year.
Yeah, if there's one thing I could teach our guys for life, it's that everything that happens to you happens for a reason, as long as you choose to learn from it. So going back and dissecting all those moments and saying, why did we lose? Well, we lost by 3, but we also had 5 turnovers. We were the worst team in turnover margin in the Big Ten last year. So if we don't turn the ball over 31 times, if we take the ball away more than 14 times, it's not a curse. Close losses aren't a curse. It's that we turned the ball over. We didn't make these plays. And so to me, it's learning from those. It's fixing those problems, and it's getting our guys confident. Man, I hope you can feel for me. I have a sense of confidence about this team, and I want our players to have a confidence about this team.
You referenced being a GA when DeShaun Foster was playing. What do you remember about Coach Foster?
Man, he was the man. First of all, he was a great guy, and he was a great person. I'm a defensive GA. I'm over there with the D-line. But he was cool to everybody. But I remember being up in the box. I think he ran for, I don't know the number. I think he ran for 300 yards. It was either against Washington or Ohio State. I think it was Ohio State. He was just a great, great player. It's someone I've always followed and respected. When he got that job, I was really, really, really happy for him.
Hey, Coach, I want to ask you just a little bit about big picture. And I know as a coach, you don't sit up here and say we want X number of wins or this, that, or the other thing because you just set yourself up to be in an uncomfortable situation. That being said, it is amazing, I think, to those of us who grew up following the program that Nebraska has the longest drought of being in a bowl game of any power conference school. So is it fair to say that anything short of making a bowl this year would be?
It'd be a failure.
Yeah.
There are so many people that I've met cheerleaders who come back for another year, students who stick around for another year, all because they want to experience going to a bowl game. And we got so close last year, and we kind of fumbled it away. And so, to me, that's the minimum. Like, we're going to go to a bowl game. We have to go to a bowl game. At the University of Nebraska, every single season, we should expect to go to a bowl game, win a bowl game, and be in the hunt for the conference title, be relevant. We're not going to win it every year, maybe, but we want to be relevant. And we want to come down the stretch and have people talking about us. Not as the game who they're playing, but they want to talk about us. And so that's why we came here. That's what we're building to. But a bowl game's non-negotiable in my mind.
Matt Rhule, head coach of the Huskers. Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Back here on Big Ten Network as Big Ten Media Days rolls on from Indianapolis. Big story of the day here at Lucas Oil Stadium. All the excitement for UCLA's Big Ten Media debut. This team coming off their first bowl win in a decade, but it's going to look a lot different than it did a year ago. DeShaun Foster, longtime terrific running back coach. He takes over as head coach. He brings in Eric Bieniemy as his offensive coordinator. So much to talk about with the Bruins. Ethan Garbers, J.Michael Sturdivant, Toia, three of the returning stars and the familiar faces for the Bruins, joining us here on set. Gentlemen, it's great to have you. And J-Mike, I love your energy. You're like, this is cool. This feels good. Yeah. You just hold that mic right up. Yep. Yeah, there you go.
No, this is great. Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's awesome to have you guys here. And I will say, we were talking to the USC guys who were up here a little bit ago, and Miller said, this feels more real. Being here, seeing the logos, seeing our uniform with everybody else's. Does this feel a little bit different? Feel a little more real?
100%. It feels like the real deal for now. We start camp on Wednesday, and we're going to start preparing for different opponents, and we're excited, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
It is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be fun to watch, and we'll talk about each of your stories in a minute because they're all terrific. But there was a great viral video that went around when you guys found out that DeShaun was going to be named head coach. Did you really not know? Like, was that moment when you first found out?
Yeah, I didn't know at all. I had a feeling when Martin was introducing that it was him, but before that, no, I had no idea.
Tell me about that moment. What was it that caused the reaction? Because it was clear that was exactly who you guys wanted.
I mean, it was real. We were all in the dark as players. We had no idea who was about to walk around that corner. So I know my heart was racing when he was doing the speech and interview and who our new coach was going to be. So it was really fun when Foss came around the corner.
This was a guy who obviously is a UCLA Hall of Famer. He played in the league, and he's one of the terrific coaches, and this is now his first year as a head coach. What have you seen as he's made this transition? Because it's not becoming a head coach. There's a lot of things that you never had to deal with as a position coach.
I mean, yeah, you could just see that the energy around practice and around our building is just different now. We got a different vibe and a different feeling. We're ready to work, and we're really taking each day at a time and really just cementing ourselves.
I think about your journey, Ethan, and you didn't start the LA Bowl last year, but you finished it as the MVP. You transferred in from Washington. You sit behind Dorian Thompson-Robinson, maybe a year longer than you thought you were going to. And you started 6 games last year, but now this year, this is your team. You are the guy. So tell me about, from a mental standpoint, what it feels like to be here, repping this team at Media Day, and know that it is your team.
Yeah, it feels great. But just one thing I'm just more importantly focused on is just winning every game and just being the best person I can be and being the best teammate I can be.
He was a pretty good teammate to you in that bowl game. You guys had a couple of nice connections, including, I think it was a 41-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter, something like that. Who's counting? You guys have a good rapport. It's clear. You could see that from the games that you've played. Tell me about him as your quarterback. What's unique?
It's just very easy to play with Garbs. He tells you exactly how he wants it on the field. And in the huddle, he's very calm. It gives everybody a lot of confidence when we break the huddle. So playing for Garbs is very easy, and he throws dots. So it's really fun to play with a guy like him.
It's also nice to have a guy like him catching passes.
It's unbelievable.
Yes.
This guy is unbelievable.
He's got some speed. You didn't even know, though, that his mom is a Hall of Famer
I
in
did
track.
not. I just found that out, but I'm not surprised at all.
Best athlete in the family.
Yeah, she might be.
She might be.
Yeah.
Jay, let's talk about your story, because you thought about leaving, you put your name in the portal, and ultimately you decided to come back. You made so many Bruin fans happy when you made that announcement on social media. What went into that decision, and what ultimately does it mean to you to be a UCLA Bruin?
What went into the decision was just, it wasn't long until I found out that UCLA was the place to be. It was home. So it was a pretty quick decision from entering the portal and then coming right back. And UCLA means the world to me. Just all of my teammates here. I didn't want to leave them. I wanted to be with my brothers that I've been with for the past 3 years. So it's a big deal to be back.
One of those brothers is no longer on the team, Latu, who is now going to be playing football on this field for the Indianapolis Colts on Sunday. Just one of the best stories in college football, honestly.
Yeah, for sure.
He's medically retired from football and then came back, got a second chance at UCLA, and became a first-round draft pick. You were with him on draft night, as we see here in these pictures. Tell me about that. What was it like?
Man, it was like no other. It was definitely an experience of a lifetime. It was just great just being there. Just being able to say that I know him, I played with him. It was a crazy experience overall.
You know, he said that you were instrumental in his growth as a leader, as his own growth as a leader, because you listened to him, and the other guys in that position group saw you listening and falling in line, and so then he started to believe in himself more. And he talks about how proud he is of you for taking over that leadership role. So how comfortable are you in that role, and what did you learn from him?
I would say I'm pretty comfortable. Like you said, Latu was saying all those things about me, but I can say those things right back to him. He's just inspirational. He's easy to follow, because everything he does is just right. So it's not hard to follow a guy like that.
Although it is hard to keep up with him in NCAA. Are we not going to bring that up? Last night, you were with him last night, and he told me that he was cooking you.
Yeah, I was with him last night, and he beat me, I think, 38-0 in the new NCAA game.
He's an NFL guy now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we'll give him that. And I think when this Bruin offense, right? So we know what the defense has got a lot of stars back, and there's some question marks, but you were the anchor of that. On offense, Eric Bieniemy, what was your reaction when you found out that he was coming in to be the offensive coordinator? Just a legend.
I mean, we were all so excited, having the opportunity with someone like that coming in and being our offensive coordinator. I mean, as a football player, you couldn't be more excited for an opportunity like that. Same guy who coached Patrick Mahomes is going to be coaching us, so it's pretty special.
I mean, when you say that, it is. Again, it's unbelievable to think about who he's coached and the positions that he's been in. Picking up the pro-style offense, the verbiage, how would you describe it? How's the learning curve?
For the receivers, we got to listen to a couple words, so it's a little different from what Garbers and the quarterback have to learn. But learning this offense, he's made it very easy on the field. He's very vocal about what he wants, and it makes it a lot better to learn the offense in person and not have to just look at it on film. So EB has made it very easy to learn this offense, and I'm really excited for what this offense is going to look like.
How's the learning curve for you?
It started off a little difficult, but once it's like basically like learning a new language. Once you get into it and once you really see the ins and outs and understand why, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm at that point where it's starting to make a lot of sense now.
Do you know any other languages?
I know a little bit of Spanish.
Okay, all right.
Nothing. I'm not fluent, but
okay.
I know a little
But
bit.
As long as you're fluent in
get
Eric
my way
Bieniemy's
around.
verbiage, then that's all that matters. What have you learned from him when you think about what he wants to do on the field and the way that he wants to pick apart defenses? How would you describe it?
I mean, he wants to take shots and he wants to just exploit defenses in areas that they need to be exploited at. He's a really intelligent guy and has a lot of plays that we can run and a lot of different things and a lot of different ways to get different guys the ball. So I mean, he's really just a genius on and off the field, and he's going to be a great coach.
Yeah, another great coach is your defensive coordinator, who was your D-line coach before, Ikaika Malloy. Your relationship with him and what he brings, because you had you knew him better than most on this team, and now he's taken over as a defensive coordinator.
Yeah, our relationship has been great, especially because of Latu as well. Latu played with him at UW, and Latu pretty much set an example for us that Coach Malloy is that guy, and he's there to help us become better every day, which he did. And I'm pretty sure our tape last year as a defense was evident of that.
Yeah, it was impressive to see what you guys were able to do last year. I heard you spent a lot of time on the jugs machine this offseason. Is that, yeah?
We got a new Monarch machine, which is outstanding. I'm so glad that Foss made that move to get it. It's like another quarterback, to be honest, and our whole receiver room has been on it a lot, get catches every day after our lift. And it's been a real blessing to have something like that and to allow us to catch a lot more balls.
I don't know the Monarch machine. Like, describe it. Tell me. Initiate me.
Basically, it's like an arcade machine, really. You load it up, and then there's like a little button that you can put on your hip, and then it'll shoot it to yourself. So you don't even need anybody out there with you.
Wow.
So
do you feel a little bit like you're being cheated on?
A little bit, but he's getting the work in. But yeah, that machine is so cool. They can point to a spot on the field and where he's standing, and the ball knows to shoot it right there.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it's amazing what you have at your disposal. And I think about, again, for Big Ten fans who aren't familiar with UCLA's campus, is one of the most beautiful campuses that I've ever stepped on in my life. Your facilities are second to none. It's truly a special place. Okay, we got a couple minutes left. We're going to do a little rapid-fire non-football questions. Are you guys good with that?
Yeah, let's go.
If you could win a gold medal in any Olympic sport, obviously opening ceremonies are on Friday. I'm sure you guys will all be watching. If you could win an Olympic medal, a gold medal in any sport, what would it be?
Ooh.
Would it be helpful if I named some?
Yeah, I would go with the 100-meter dash.
Oh, okay. That
Yeah.
seems like a good answer
Yeah,
for you.
sure. And then
Your
take a
mom would
little-
like that.
Take a little victory lap after I win.
There you go.
Yeah,
I would want to win a golf gold medal for
Okay.
sure. That'd be cool.
I'd see that.
I would want to win a shot put gold.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I thought you were going to say archery for a minute, but shot put
No,
would
I
be
did a
good
little
too.
shot put in high school, and it was pretty fun.
Love that. Okay, favorite NFL player growing up?
Tom Brady.
Michael Vick. That was the first jersey I ever had.
Troy Polamalu.
Love all great answers. All right, if you could be any animal,
Killer
what would
whale.
you be? Killer whale.
Oh, yeah.
And you answered that right away. You've thought
it's my
about this
favorite
before.
animal, you
Really?
know? They're intelligent and they're beautiful creatures.
What a good answer.
Are we doing like real or like?
Whatever. How you can answer this however you like.
I would probably
J-Michael.
do a phoenix. A phoenix is tough.
A phoenix rising.
Yeah, I'll do one of those.
Wait, do I know what a phoenix is?
It's like a big bird, like big fiery bird.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
all
I'll do
right.
that.
That's, again, terrific answers. Jay, I don't know what you're going to go with, but you can't go with like a bear or a lion now.
Nah, I would probably want to go with a monkey.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's just swinging
They're
from
smart.
trees to trees.
Mhm.
It just
A lot of good
sounds fun.
potassium in the diet. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see that. Those are better answers than I expected. Someone who has impacted your life, and don't overthink it. It can be a coach, a friend, a family member.
My brother.
Your brother,
Yeah.
Chase.
Uh-huh.
How is he doing, by the way?
He's doing great. You
Yeah.
know, looking for an opportunity, but he's doing great.
Former Cal quarterback, knew him well. How about you?
My mom and my dad have been my inspiration my whole life, so I love them, and they're a great role model for me.
Shout out, Mom and
I would
Dad.
also say my parents as well. Just everything that they taught me, and just teaching me not to take any moment for granted. So yeah.
I was going to have you guys teach everyone the 8 clap, but I'm told that we're out of time, so you get out of that right now, unless you'd really like to do it as we go to
I think
break.
we're out of time.
You think? Yeah, I think we're out of time. Jay's like, I got to go. I got another interview. Awesome to see you guys here. Excited for this season and this new leadership under DeShaun Foster, and we'll be out for training camp in just a couple weeks. So we look forward to seeing you
Thank you
then.
for having us.
Thank you for having
Go
me.
Bruins.
Go Bruins.
Go Bruins.
Getting set for the first Big Ten season to include 18 schools, 4 new ones, including UCLA. New head coach as well in DeShaun Foster, who took over the program in mid-February after the departure of Chip Kelly. New to being a head coach, but not new to coaching, and not new to coaching at UCLA. Was a great Bruins running back in his day, 44 career touchdowns, has been the running backs coach, and UCLA has led the Pac-12 in rushing each of the last 2 seasons, so it's had a huge impact. DeShaun Foster joining us now. Coach, it's special to be a head coach for the first time, but it's got to be particularly special at your alma mater. Give people a sense of what UCLA means to you.
UCLA just means, you know, it's a prestigious university first, and then just the fact that I'm able to be the head coach at my university is, you know, I'm just blessed. So I'm just happy to be in this situation, and, you know, just looking forward to the season.
I mean, if someone would have told you a year ago this is kind of where you were going to be, right? I mean, it's such a huge change. Just give me a sense of in what ways your life has changed here in the last year, going from being a position coach, not a coordinator, but a position coach, to being the head coach.
In all aspects, you know, when you're a position coach, you're kind of locked in on your position a little bit, and then I mostly was, you know, I took pride in that, so I really was locked in on my guys. And now that I have the whole team, I just like that because I get to touch more people. You know, when I was a running back coach, I could only really get my hands on the offense, you know, or the scout team defensive players, you know. But now that I'm the head coach, I get to Jay, Toia, the starting D tackle, or starting corners, just everybody. I'm able to be involved, and, you know, I'm just able to touch guys on a bigger scale. So.
You talked about opening up the program from a recruiting aspect so people can get an opportunity to see what UCLA has to offer them. What went into that thought process, and why did you want to do things that way?
I just kind of just went back to what made me want to come to UCLA. What did I see? And it was just basically just the access of the school, seeing the university, going to the Rose Bowl, seeing them win games. So I just wanted to open it up and let people see what UCLA has to offer, because the school is amazing. You know, we're in a great area in Los Angeles. You know, we play top football. We have a great basketball program. Sports are huge at our school. So, you know, and we're the #1 public institute. So you get a lot with UCLA. I just wanted to get it exposed.
I want to follow up and kind of expand on the question Dave asked you in your answer, just in your ability to, going from a running back to a head coach to touch the team? I imagine it's a steep learning curve, right? And you go through spring ball, that's brand new. You learn a lot. Now you're going into camp ahead of your first season. What has changed even in these first few months in terms of how you're able not just to touch those players, but interact with them and be a part of the growth of your defense as a whole?
It's changed a lot because, I used to speak in offense in practice,
right.
and I had to change the way that I'm talking and just certain stuff. I couldn't just sit in the offensive meeting rooms. I can't just sit in there with the running back. So, it's a complete learning curve. But I was excited for it, and, spring went really well, and I'm just looking forward to training camp.
What are some of the things that you're looking for to training camp, as you just mentioned?
Just getting out there and then seeing the guys continue to compete. They finished off spring ball really well competing, and they carried that over into summer conditioning, and I just want to see if we bring that back in training camp.
So you bring in Eric Bieniemy as your offensive coordinator and play caller, and the jump from he's coming over from the NFL, right? Won some Super Bowls with Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, and with that being a job in the NFL, you have more time to learn a deep and complex playbook, right? And he was hired real late in the process as well. What's the conversations been like with him and with, Ethan, your quarterback, and the offense as a whole? Like, what has he had to do to adjust his play calling system and playbook so your offense can fully grasp it and execute?
That's funny because he really didn't dumb it down at all. I love that he just came in there and Ethan wanted the whole offense. He didn't want to just give me pieces of this, and Ethan wanted to know exactly how the plays are going to be called. Don't baby this install for me, and let me grasp it and teach the rest of the team. But Ethan did a good job at leading the team, learning the offense, teaching our other players on offense. So the sky's the limit for our offense, and I'm just excited that EB was able to get in here. We get some other offensive coaches, teach them the system, and then they were able to teach our players.
As you start to get prepared to come into this conference, what's the scouting been like as far as being able to look at teams and see the strengths and where you want to continue to build your program so you have it exactly where you want to be?
You're always scouting. So, I've been checking out all 17 teams, but it's a tough conference. But this is what you want. You want to play big-time football, If you're a big-time football player, you want to play big-time games. So I'm excited for this conference. This is going to help us get an opportunity to be in the playoffs. It also gives us an opportunity to win end-of-season awards. So I'm looking forward to it. Our players are too. Just the access that they're getting. And with playing in the Big Ten, it's similar to the NFL. You're going to be traveling to play games, and that's exactly what happens in the NFL. So what's better than to figure out your plan or your routine now before you get to the league?
Has recruiting changed at all, or have you seen a difference recruiting-wise, not just on the West Coast, but moving east?
Yeah, most definitely, because now I can tell parents, you can see your son play. It was tough coming into the Midwest and asking parents, like, hand your son over and let me take him back west.
Yeah.
And you might not see him play unless you come to see us. But now that we're going to be playing locally and around this area, I'm excited for that. And, I've seen a lot of parents that are open to it, and they're excited about it too because they know the market that LA can bring, and then playing in the Big Ten, it's amazing.
I hear you talk with your opening statement today and some of your other pressers, and we've even talked about this before, how you want your team to be like fierce and competitive and really energetic. And talking to you, you're very calm and like poised, and it doesn't seem like you feel any type of pressure. What's practice like with you? Like, what's the team get to see? Do you chew guys out if there's a mistake? Could you give us a look behind the curtain of what you're like in practice?
It's the complete opposite of this.
Really? Okay.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite of this. But just me as a player, I was never a raw guy. I was into the game, I was locked in, but I always felt no matter what you do, it's still 0-0. So that's just the way I approach it. When we get out on the field, that's when my personality comes out, and that's when you got to get going. And, as long as my players, my running backs are very similar to me that I've had and coached, and, it's worked. And I'm not going to make the team be calm and relaxed, but I'm just excited. I like to call it athletic arrogance. You know, you have to have that if you want to be a successful player, and I'm pretty confident in my coaching ability, so I'm excited for this.
How about travel? We've talked a lot about that. Coaches are making adjustments, whether it's going a day early, if it's a Saturday game, maybe a Thursday night. Are those some of the things that you guys have looked into?
Yeah, I've looked into all of that. I'm still doing a little bit more research. I've reached out to the Rams, Chargers, Seattle. You know, I reached out to Pete Carroll, a lot of coaches. I've just reached out to a lot of people because I just want to see how everybody's handled that. You know, that's the biggest thing for us. But I'm not really worried about the travel. For me, it's more of the stadiums.
Okay.
You know, so going to Penn State, being in 100,000, they haven't seen that. You know, it's just a wow factor. I don't think the flight is really going to take much out of us, but I think being in the stadium and getting over how big it is, that could affect us.
Yeah.
You won't be tired after a long flight to Beaver Stadium when you get in front of that. You can't be tired.
Exactly.
That's just added adrenaline.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
they'll get going. I want to ask you about the defensive side of the ball because you're replacing your leading tackler, you're leading the guy with the most interceptions, leading sack artist in Liatu Latu. So you're replacing some production. What are the expectations for that unit this fall?
It's going to be a collective thing. You know, this is more of you know, we had some very good individual players, and they played good as a defense, but we can't just replace those individual players, so the whole defense needs to do that. And I'm excited for them. The defense did a really good job in spring. They played hard. They really got us going offensively, you know. We brought Toia back, and that was a huge get for us. He was giving us hell all spring. So, you know, I think our linemen are pretty excited, you know, because they're not going to see too many guys like Toia. But it's tough. But, you know, we're looking forward to it.
What do you do in practice at that point? Because that had to have been a learning curve, too. You're the head coach.
Yeah.
He's making plays, but, you know, like, was that an adjustment, too, to help celebrate with the defense?
Yeah, I just go celebrate with him and then take him to the sideline with me.
Coach, you were talking about the defensive changes, and Ikaka Malloy was promoted internally, had been a position coach for you. He's now the defensive coordinator. What's that jump going to be like for him, and what have you said to him about, look, a lot of pressure, particularly given how good the defense was a year ago. What's kind of the marching orders as he heads into that?
Well, it kind of started with the bowl game because he called our bowl game also.
Yeah.
So it started with that. But, you know, I just let him know defense wins games. And he knows that too. You know, him being a defensive player, being a linebacker, he played at Washington. He understands, like, you know, we're going to lean on our defense heavily, and especially being in this conference we are. So I just wanted to let him know, just get these guys to play hard and rally and, you know, show discipline, respect, and enthusiasm, and we should be good.
I want to ask about discipline, respect, and enthusiasm. I know those are the pillars of the program. What does each one of those words mean to you? Give people a sense of why you chose those as your pillars and how you define each one of them.
Well, the discipline aspect, you know, I got that from my father. He was an ex-Marine, and just being in the household with him, I always remember him saying there's nobody successful that's not disciplined, you know, so I just wanted to always make sure that my players understood that. And when I was a running back coach, that's all I did, discipline, 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 and it worked. So I'm just going to take that and put it on a bigger scale and do that with the team, you know. The respect, it comes from, you know, you have to respect women, teachers, the game, your teammates, you know, professors. You know, the respect aspect comes in everything. That's life. And the discipline is also, and then enthusiasm, we just got to have fun. This is football. Have fun out there. You know, when you're having fun, you'll do anything if you really think about it. You know, when you've worked hard for something and you're having fun, it won't bother you when it gets tough. So I just want my guys to get out there and have fun and just show the type of brand of football that we play.
It's an interesting spot. I know so many people in the Big Ten are so excited to have these 4 new schools. I think the truth is that a lot of people are still trying to get to know them. And, hey, what is special about each one of these places? What makes them tick? Clearly, one of the things that's special about UCLA is the rivalry with USC, the Victory Bell game every year, especially as someone who played in that game, who kind of bleeds the Bruin blue and gold. Give us a sense of what that game means for people who haven't experienced it. How important is that game, and how does it play out on the field?
This game is This is actually the first color rush, because we both wear home uniforms at home. So this is before the NFL really jumped on that. Both teams are wearing their home uniforms. That's kind of what makes it special, because you just see the colors of the game out there. But I think the distance of the schools is what really makes it, because like when I played in the game, there's guys on the other team that I either was on the same team with or we had played against each other, and I mean multiple times throughout our whole lives. So like Carson Palmer was a quarterback when I was there. We played against each other multiple times from like 7th grade all the way up. So, it's just a little deeper rivalry, and it's just exciting when like families can get involved and it's not just a game. So it's just a little deeper, but I'm excited that the rest of the world is actually going to get to see it, and the Big Ten is going to put this rivalry on a whole nother scale.
Well, we are fired up to have UCLA as a part of the league and to have you joining us as a head coach here in the Big Ten. Really looking forward to following the Bruins this year and in the years to come. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
That is DeShaun Foster, the
Big Ten Media Day rolling along here. Year 2 under Matt Rhule at Nebraska. 5 wins a year ago, but obviously plenty of reasons to believe they are poised for a breakout season in 2024. 5-star quarterback Dillon Raiola, he shined in the spring game, and he takes over a team with 17 returning starters, including a trio of seniors representing Big Red here in Indy: Isaac Gifford, Ty Robinson, and Ben Scott. Gentlemen, great to have you here. How's the day going?
Yeah, it's going good.
It's going well? I've heard we've been talking a lot about Thanksgiving dinners so far.
Yeah, a lot.
Have you been any football questions, or mostly just about Thanksgiving?
It's a mix.
It's a mix. Good mix. Okay,
mix.
good. That's when you know you're in the right spot. I think there is a lot of excitement around this team, and we can get into some of the things that maybe kept you guys from winning some of those close games last year, but the feeling overall in the locker room heading into this year is what?
I think we're ready to go, hit the ground running, We had a long off season. We've been working hard, and I think we are excited to go for week 1.
How about you, Todd?
Yeah, no, I'm really excited. Just after seeing all the hard work we put in the past 6 months, and fall camp right around the corner, I think we're all ready to go.
Yeah, I would agree. I think everybody's ready to put it all together and get into the season.
Because again, the record wasn't what you guys wanted. You win 5 games, but there was measured improvement. And defensively, Isaac and Ty, for you guys, you gave up 18 points per game, and it felt like there was a lot there, that there's a lot to build on. So when you think about that unit as a whole, if you want to name a couple of guys who you think have stepped up this spring that you're excited about?
Yeah, no doubt. There's a lot of guys in my DB room, but a couple guys, Jeremiah Charles and Mario Buford, they're making a name for themselves.
Yeah, as it goes for the defensive line, Jamari's put on 20 pounds. He's up to 260 in the 3-tech life now. And then the young guys, Riley Van Poppel, Cam Lenhart, Sula Fotu, Elijah Judy. The whole group has been doing a great job. But those key guys, I think, are going to be really helpful for us this next season.
You guys are veterans, but has the offseason felt any different? Has there been more of a competitive edge?
Yeah, I think this offseason we really taken a toll on ourselves to really go in there and attack everything. We had a really long and hard offseason where we've been doing a lot of hard stuff and just seeing what we can attack and what they're going to bring out for us.
Well, I can tell that you guys are working hard, because when I was talking to you before we came on, I said, what have you been doing this summer? And everybody just said we've just been training.
Yeah, we've been busy.
A little bit of golf.
A little golf when we can. A little bad golf here and there.
I did hear Matt Rhule at the podium earlier. He talked about how the number one thing he looks for in a recruit is competitiveness, that competitive edge. Yep. How have you seen that show up in the program since he's taken over?
Oh, we're competing every day. It could be tug of war. It could be who finishes a race the fastest. It's offense versus defense, and then it's a mix. We're always competing with each other.
Who's the most competitive guy on the team?
Oh, God.
Probably Coach Rhule's really competitive.
He's up there.
Coach Rhule, he's not even picking a side, and he wants to win. He might be the most competitive guy. But yeah, no, throughout the training, guys are trying to outlift each other and trying to outrun each other, trying to outperform each other. And it's all friendly competition, just making us one better.
Who's learning the harmonica?
That would be me.
Okay. I couldn't remember which one of you said. Okay, so there's football, and then on the side, though, there is a little bit of harmonica.
Yeah, every summer I try to pick something up, and I just thought, the harmonica would be a good thing to pick up.
How is it coming along?
It could be better.
It could be better. Could you want to vouch for that?
Yeah, it could be better.
Yeah.
It could be better.
Okay. Well, we'll save that for at the end of the year, and we'll see how you're improving.
Yes.
You're a surfer?
Yeah, a little bit. You know, I know how. I
Yeah,
can't
you
really
do.
shred the waves or nothing, but I can stand up on a board.
Of all of the fun facts that I have learned today, the fact that you are a surfer is maybe one of. But
I wouldn't call
you're
me
from
a
Hawaii.
surfer.
I'm going to call you a surfer on TV, so you now are officially
No.
a surfer. But tell me your path. You grew up in Hawaii.
Yeah, you know, I grew up in Hawaii. My mom's actually from Nebraska, and my dad's from New Zealand. So, yeah, I'm born and raised in Hawaii.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
An international man.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell
Yeah.
me about, even though I know, yes, Hawaii is in the 50 states. Tell me about your background. Obviously from Lincoln.
Yep.
Grew up a diehard Big
Homegrown.
Red fan. Yes.
Grew up watching the Huskers, and now I'm living the dream.
What was that moment like when you found out that you were getting an offer?
It was pretty big. It was special for me, you know, watching my brother get to play here and then move on to the NFL. It was pretty surreal to get the chance to do the same and follow the same path.
I think unless you've been to Memorial Stadium for a game, it's hard to describe what the fan support is like. The whole town shuts down. I mean, it is truly one of the most special environments in all of college football. There are some new fan bases who are now going to be tuning into the Big Ten. How would you describe Memorial Stadium for a home game?
Yeah, you know, the people of Nebraska are super friendly. I mean, they would give up their seat for an opposing fan. I mean, that's just the best way I can describe them. They're cheering us on through, you know, the hard stuff and the good stuff. And, you know, they're just super respectful to anyone we play.
Describe the tunnel walk.
It's surreal. Being a homegrown kid, it's like a dream every Saturday coming out of the tunnel. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah.
When I look at your schedule from last year, or your record from last year, you guys lost so many close games. I know you get asked about this a lot. Turnover is obviously one of the biggest issues. What is the key to taking the next step there? Because I talk to some coaches and they say you don't want to harp on the turnovers too much because then it kind of gets in guys' heads and that you kind of have to let the play, go play the game and let them play free. But what has Matt Rhule been harping on this offseason?
Yeah, you know, a lot of holding each other accountable, like guys that are holding the ball the wrong way, you know, even the O-linemen are holding them accountable. And, you know, the ball's always in my hands to start it off, so starting off on me, I got to make sure all my snaps are right.
That is the most important thing. It does start with you. It's really all on your shoulders was how that's what I wanted to say.
Yep, I'm Ben.
It's all up to you, Ben. Let's talk about Dillon because he's a guy that a lot of Nebraska fans are really excited about, and obviously he had a great spring game. What is unique about his skill set, and what insight can you give us on your freshman quarterback?
Yeah, when he got to Lincoln, you know, he just hit the ground running. I think he's a very intelligent freshman, and I think he's always in the building first and one of the last guys to leave, and I think he's really bought into the film room and in the playbook, and I think he's becoming a leader, and I think the sky's the limit.
I always like asking the defensive guys, too, about what they see. I mean, what makes your life hard when he's running the offense?
You know, he came in and he doesn't act like a freshman. You know, he acts like a veteran QB. He's super composed in the pocket, and he just hit the ground running. You know, there was no wait time for him. He came here ready to go, and you can tell.
Yeah, especially from like a pressure standpoint up front. I mean, he's not afraid to stay in that pocket and believe in his O-lineman to keep that pocket for him. And, you know, even if we get back there, he's not afraid to scramble around and get outside and make a pretty good throw.
A couple of receivers out of the portal, Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair. What have you seen from them?
Yeah, they've been great so far. I mean, they definitely make our room better. You know,
Yeah.
Us DBs, we're going to see a lot of talent this year. And those guys are just making us better. You know, there's a lot of guys in that room that are challenging us.
I know that we are not going to look ahead because you only look at the first game on your schedule, which is UTEP. But can you humor me here, and can we look ahead to week 2? Colorado coming in. This is a team that has gotten the best of you guys the last 3 times you've played them. I know how much this game means to this team and the state of Nebraska. Talk to me about what the energy is going to be like and how much you guys have allowed yourselves to at least think about getting another shot at those guys.
Yeah, you know, I mean, you always think about it, right? You always talk about focusing on the first week, but it's always on the back of your mind, right? Being a night game, the energy is going to be high, and I can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, just historically, too, just the rivalry and how deep it really is, and, you know, to learn the history about it and then, you know, to continue this rivalry, it's pretty special.
Yeah, you know, it's going to be a packed stadium. All the fans are looking forward to that one, and I think it's going to be awesome.
It is going to be awesome. And Nebraska has never lost, ever, in the history of the program, 4 straight to Colorado. So I am sure that everyone's excited for you guys to make sure that streak does not happen. All right, can we do some rapid fire, some
Sure.
non-football?
Yep. Do it.
All right. If you could win a gold medal in any Olympic event, with the Olympics starting on Friday, And I can list off some Olympic sports if that would be helpful.
Golf.
Golf.
Yeah.
That's been a popular answer.
100 meter.
100 meter. That's all. That's been the second most popular answer.
Diving.
What a great answer.
That would be awesome.
You'd be
That
graceful.
see, you are a
You'd be
water. Yeah, I
graceful.
can see you are a water child. Yes.
Water child.
Okay, favorite NFL player growing up?
I loved watching Sue. Yeah.
Special.
J.J. Watt.
Dominic Raiola.
All great answers. Song you are listening to most right now,
Oh.
or artist?
Artist would probably be better.
Coetzel.
Okay.
Yeah. Country.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could. Yeah. I
Yeah.
could. You got that.
See it
good
a little
vibe.
bit?
Yeah, I could see that. Someone's wearing cowboy boots. I don't know who it is.
It's not me.
None of us.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Suicide Boys.
Suicide Boys.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna have to download that.
I'll say J Boog. It's reggae.
Okay. See, now, this is what I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
here to get education. I'm here
Yeah.
to get some new artists to download. All right. If you could be any animal, what would you be?
I'd probably go with like an elephant.
Mm-hmm. Why?
Pretty cool.
Memory
I don't know, they're
and
like big and
big,
stuff.
yeah.
You know.
You wouldn't want to be big, huh?
Yeah. Uh huh.
That's me.
That was a good burn.
Mine would be a gorilla.
Okay.
I still
Oh,
keep
really?
My thumbs.
Really? Gorilla.
Yeah.
Opposable thumbs are awesome. Let's be real.
I would say like a rhino or something.
These are. I mean. All bad. There are no bad answers, but those are all terrific answers. All right, somebody who has impacted your life, and it can be a coach, it can be a teammate, a player, but just first person that pops in your mind.
My brother.
Yeah.
You know, he's been a big mentor for me.
What have you learned from him?
A lot of things, on and off the field. You know, he's been a big help in my life.
Yeah, no, I'd have to say my mom. Just growing up, she raised all three of us. Fortunately, my dad passed away, so she had to take on that role. So, I mean, I've learned a lot through her, you know, her adversities and her strengths to be who I am today.
I'd say both my parents, you know, just learning how to become a man, just having them just, you know, be on me all the time. So, yeah.
Well, hat tip to all of your parents because they all raised great human beings. The last thing I'll ask you before we go, if you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self something, what would it be? Because you guys have been on a long journey. You're all veteran players, and you're all up here representing a team that you love. So if you could go back and tell your younger self something, what would it be?
Yeah, you know, just enjoy it. You know, no matter how hard or easy it is, just enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to say the same thing. I mean, I'm already in my 6th year. Like, it's already gone by so fast. It's part of a big reason why I wanted to come back. I mean, you only get one more chance at this, and, you know, then I got to go live a normal life. So I want to, you know, experience the most I can.
Yeah, I'd say the same thing. You know, just enjoy every step of it because, you know, back then you're always stressing out over all these things. You know, everything's going to work out just fine.
Everything is going to work out just fine. Well said. And I love the idea of kind of enjoying the moment because I think especially when you're younger, all you're doing is looking ahead to the next thing and how can I improve and when are we going to get to this. So I'm glad you guys are able to soak it in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Media Day and whatever Thanksgiving questions come up. I hope that you don't give controversial answers about sweet potato pie or whatever it was that got the room going. Good luck this season, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Well, it is year 26 for Kirk Ferentz at Iowa. He's just 4 wins away from number 200 with the Hawkeyes. He's got 18 starters back from a 10-win team that won the Big Ten West last year. He brought in a new offensive coordinator in Tim Lester to help get that side of the ball going. Here at Media Day, some veterans, 2 fifth-year guys in Luke Lachey and Jay Higgins, and Quinn Schulte entering his 6th season of college football. So we got some seasoned vets up here. You two were at Media Days last year.
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys want to host a segment? Can I leave and you just go?
Well, Shay, take it away, buddy.
We should leave that to you.
Yeah, all right. How has it been, though? Day's good so far?
Yeah, pretty solid.
Have you had any unexpectedly weird questions?
I don't think so.
No?
Everything's been pretty solid.
Everything's
so far.
been pretty. You haven't been asked about Thanksgiving because that's what I've.
A lot of questions about the holidays, Thanksgiving
Okay.
and Halloween.
Do you have any controversial Thanksgiving answers about what your least favorite food is that you'd like to share?
No.
No. Okay.
Not on live.
Not on live TV. Good enough. You have a great story, though, and I think about you. You walk on in 2019, and you're now here representing the team at Media Day, Lot Impact Trophy candidate. Just for people who may not know, describe your journey.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just came to campus as a walk-on, just put trust into Coach Ferentz, Coach Parker, and, just grind it every day and just try to do my best, be a good teammate for these guys, and here I am now. So.
Yeah, here you are now. What's it like to see a guy who's put in that work and is now sitting up on the stage?
Yeah, it's really cool to see Quinn. Obviously, I spent a lot of time with him just because he's free safety, but someone who shows up every day, someone who's extremely accountable to his team, and I feel like all his teammates appreciate that about him.
Yeah, love that.
Same. I think it's just the coolest thing in the world. I remember one of our first practices, I ran a route against him, and after it, he did a good job against me, and I patted him on the back and said, "Hey, nice job." And he tells that story all the time.
That was the first time I ever met Luke. He said that to me.
Wow.
Yeah, so.
And that will stick with you for a long time,
Yeah.
as it should, because I'm reading The Athletic, and they said that you may be the most complete tight end to ever come through Iowa, which is really saying something when you think about the talent that they have produced at that position. We'll get to that in a minute, but first and foremost, how are you feeling?
Feel great. I feel like I turned a corner this last month. It's a testament to the trainers and everyone being super patient and willing to help. So I'm just excited to be able to go back out with these guys and play on Saturdays.
Sometimes I talk to guys and time away from the game when you're injured, it's hard and it's lonely and you don't know when you're going to get back to feeling like yourself. But a lot of times they go through it and they feel like they either learn something about the game or themselves, that there's some benefit to it. Have you felt a silver lining to being out?
Absolutely. Learned a lot about, patience. I feel like a lot of great things come with patience and, super grateful for that. I just picked up new hobbies. I like to read a lot and, I probably wouldn't have gotten into that if I didn't. So it's been good.
I also hear you have another hobby that I'm really interested in asking you about, which is Legos.
Yeah, love Legos.
I think that is terrific. My 7-year-old son is just like beaming at home, knowing that there's someone who looks like you who also loves Legos.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love Legos. My teammate Steven Stilianos bought me a Lego set after I got injured and picked that up, and I've kind of ran with it. It's a lot of fun and something relaxing to do in the off season.
What's like the biggest thing that you've built? What have you built?
I built like a Lego Harry Potter castle, just like a 2,600 piece type thing, and then I have the Lego Titanic that is going to be built in a couple of years.
Wow, the Lego Titanic. Are you going to help him on that, or is that maybe?
I think I'm gonna let his girlfriend Emma help
teammates
him on
only.
that.
There are
be
limits
good.
as a teammate. I get
yeah.
that. I get that. All right, you lead the Big Ten in tackles a year ago, and you are the anchor of an elite defense. Your mindset coming into this year and what you guys were able to accomplish was impressive. You get some more offense going, and it feels like the sky's the limit for this team.
Yeah, it's been really cool. I just feel like I'm another guy on our defense that we have. Quinn can talk about it, but we have so many players that are coming off great years, and you look at Sebastian and Nick Jackson, Quinn, Xavier, both our corners. It's easy just to blend in with everyone else. Kind of just take the pressure off myself and make sure I'm the best leader I possibly can be.
That's the most humble answer I've ever heard. Quinn, can I ask you to talk about him since he won't?
Well, I'll talk about it a little bit. Just to see his work and his patience over the years, being behind such a great player in Jack before him. But for him to get his opportunity and to kind of take it and run with it was something that was really rewarding to see as kind of an older guy. So.
Okay, this is a great note that I just read. So you won the local Iowa Media Award for the Duke Slater Golden Gavel Award, which is given to the player who's the most cooperative with the media, which I love that's a thing. I think that's great. So what do you go out of your way to be quite like how's?
I just make sure I'm nice to everybody I come in contact with, and Media Iowa does a good job of respecting boundaries, and I try to spice it up, give them a little story. I know their job's hard. They're just trying to get paid just like us, and they need a good title for their article. So I might give them a joke that'll help them out.
Fill up their notebook. Okay, give me a joke now, right? I mean, what do you got for me? You got a story? Any story.
I got Stacey Adams on right now, good quality shoes.
I wish you could. Is there a way you could put?
I
on
wish
the desk?
I could just stand on the desk and show everybody.
I would. I'm getting a lot of head. Nope, not.
But yeah, it's my first time going with brown shoes, brown belt combo.
Okay. And how does it feel?
I mean, I guess it's up to the people watching. I hope I look good.
I think you guys all look terrific. I will say, back in my day, media days, it used to be that people had to wear their team polos, and it is a different era now because you guys are all coming in these awesome suits. So it is. Is there any story behind? Because I do like to, if you want to talk about how these fits came together. You feel free of the platform.
For me, I just went to Dillard's and bought the suit. I went, I don't know, nothing too special, nothing too crazy. Just like to keep it simple.
That's the best Luke Lachey answer I've ever heard. Just went to Dillard's and got it. Yeah.
I'd say, I mean, mine's from Dillard's too, so I don't know. But my
There's sponsorship here?
I don't know. My mom picked out the shoes. Shout out to my mom, and I don't even know what they are. So yeah.
Oh, shout out to moms for still picking out the shoes. That is very good. You're from Indy. Did you get to see folks last night?
Yeah, so we got in this morning, met the family in the lobby. My dad had a crazy suit on, like he was getting ready to get drafted. And, I was just happy to see them. I was telling people, you're crazy if you think my mom and dad aren't giving me a hug, and I'm 15 minutes from the house.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate getting to see them.
So he put on a suit to come give you a hug before media day.
Yeah, and they didn't even let him in. I tried to pull the card, but I guess he didn't have credentials to make it into Lucas Oil. So I gave him a hug in the lobby.
We got to call somebody. You can have my credential.
Okay.
I'm not allowed to do that, and we're on live TV, so I shouldn't say that, but we'll get your thoughts in there. When you think about this team and what makes it special, because every year it's unique, right? There's guys coming back, but there's always new energy and different chemistry. What is sort of the unique qualifying factor for this Iowa team?
I'd just say the leadership that we have. Obviously, when you return a lot of those starters, it comes with it, but just a quality group of guys. I'm excited to see what the defense and the offense can do. And just sitting next to some good players like up here to my left, it's just – when you have guys who are really pushing the charge and leading the charge and they're high character guys, I feel like that just trickles down to the rest of the team.
Yeah, it's one of the things I think also about the positions that you each play, and we'll talk about the tight end in a second, but Pat Angerer was one of the terrific linebackers to come through this program. I worked in Indy and covered him when he was a rookie, and I remember he was like the go-to soundbite because he probably won the local media award as well when he was there. He's now going to be the color guy on the radio. He replaces a legend in Ed Podolak. Have you gotten a chance to connect with Pat? Do you ever?
Yeah, he's always around, and I feel like I have a fair relationship with all the linebackers who came before me. But yeah, I definitely know that a linebacker's watching me, and he'll be talking play to play. So, I might be giving a little bit more effort, and making sure I do the linebacker thing to do.
I didn't think about that you're going to have a guy that is watching your position probably specifically. So yeah you're going to get your name was already called a lot, but I'm sure your name is going to be called a lot more with Pat in the booth. And then let's talk about the tight end position, because again, you think about some of the guys that have come through this program, and for the Athletic to say that you might be the most complete tight end to come through this program. Dallas Clark, a legend who played here in Indianapolis, he's going to be inducted into the Ring of Honor here with the Colts coming up. What does it mean to you, and can you describe why is Iowa so good at turning out tight ends?
Yeah, I just think it's a testament to Coach Ferentz. As long as Coach Ferentz is the head coach, we're going to be using tight ends. I know a funny story that his wife told him, and he told me in the 80s at some point. It was after a game I think they lost. She said that they didn't throw the ball to the tight end, so he said, I need to keep throwing it to them. So I think it just kind of picked up from there. But yeah, no, I didn't really hear about the most complete, tight end thing, and that's an honor. But I don't know about that. I mean, there are so many great guys that came ahead of me, and just the coolest thing in the world to be able to even play at the same school as they did. So it's truly an honor, and I just try to live up to the expectations that they set forth.
Yeah, we were certainly doing that right now. I got to ask you about Phil Parker, who's the mastermind of this defense. He's the longest tenured defensive coordinator. He won the Broyles Award last year. What have you learned from him, and maybe more specifically, what do you admire about him?
Yeah, I think I've learned a lot from him, but I just admire the intensity that he brings every day. There's not a day in the building that he takes off, and I think Jay can talk about that, but every day you're going to have to go out to practice, you're going to have to work hard, and you're going to have to do something that you might not want to do. But I think that's just the great thing about him.
Anything you'd add to that?
I just say he coaches with his heart. I feel like he has so much passion for the game, and the people he's coaching, we obviously see that. So I'd say that's kind of the real reason why we play so hard is Coach Parker. Energy
is contagious. That is for sure. Okay, favorite NFL player growing up? Who was somebody that you guys watched, loved, want to emulate?
Mine is really easy. It'd be Ray Lewis. Growing up, he was tearing it up at Baltimore, just being violent, hitting people, and I always looked up to that.
That makes a lot of sense. How about you?
Yeah, I'd say Rob Gronkowski, another guy, one of the best to ever do it, if not the best, in my opinion, he is. So, just someone that was always available for Tom Brady and, was always a good player when he was out there.
And who is maybe the most, hilarious interview
he's a
of
character.
all time.
He's awesome.
His character shines through.
Yeah. My favorite safety growing up was Nick Collins for the Packers. I was a Packers fan growing up, so just watching him was special.
Okay, can we do a couple rapid fire before we let you guys non-football? If you could be any animal, what would you be?
A killer whale.
That's the second time someone has said that. I can't remember who the last person was, but that's a great answer. Okay.
That's Jay's personality. I'm gonna go for a sea turtle.
A sea turtle.
That's Lachey's personality. Is a sea turtle.
Exactly.
Oh, what do you like about sea turtles?
The island we go to growing up called Bald Head Island, and so sea turtles, a lot of them are hatched there, and they always come back and lay eggs there. And so I saw that happen a couple of times. I just think it's the coolest thing in the world. So I saw that, and I figure I might as well be one.
The only
cry
drawback.
up here on me. Are you about to get teary?
I get emotional.
The only drawback for sea turtles is that they don't have opposable thumbs, so your Lego career would kind of you have to go by the wayside.
Sacrifices.
It's trade-offs, really. Everything is about trade-offs.
Yeah.
Great answer. How about you?
Mine would be a jaguar.
Ooh.
Yeah. Because
I
they
like
can. I think they're one of the only cats that's willing to go into the water to hunt. So.
Look at these fun facts.
You guys did his homework on this.
I was going to say, you didn't even know I was going to ask you that question. That's a terrific answer. You learn something new up here every day. Somebody who has impacted your life.
Can I say both my parents?
Yes, you can.
Yeah, I just say both my parents, how much they sacrificed for me. Obviously, growing up, a lot of AAU basketball, and I didn't really understand the schedule that I had. Now that I pay my own bills and do stuff like that, I'm really appreciative of everything they've done for me in the situation they put me in.
I will say the best way to appreciate your parents is when you become a parent one day, and then you realize truly how much they did for you.
Yeah.
But great answer, and shout out to mom and dad, who hopefully are standing right outside waiting to give you a big hug.
Same for me. Both my parents. I just feel like they did such an amazing job raising my siblings and I, and obviously sacrificed a lot. With 5 kids, they're busy all the time, so not much time for themselves. So really appreciative of them, and I just love them a lot.
I mean, you're getting the same answer from me, too, as the parents.
Right. I love it.
Just the stuff that they do behind the scenes that no one else really sees, for us or our siblings, just means the world, and so we're just really grateful.
Yeah. Well, as a parent myself, I can tell you there's no better answer than that, because I think that's all what they hopefully they're watching at home and are happy to hear that, because I know how much they've poured into you guys to raise these outstanding young men. Last rapid-fire question. If you could win a gold medal in any Olympic sport, what would it be?
I'd say basketball.
Yeah.
Obviously, I let LeBron take over, and I just kind of warm up in layup lines and sit on the bench and, make sure he needs, water and Gatorade as he gets me
LeBron needs you.
A medal.
LeBron needs you.
Well, he's kind of doing that right now.
Yeah.
He's playing well.
Yeah.
For me, I'd say swimming. Super exciting. Super cool to watch, and just to kind of be a part of that would be super cool.
To win a gold medal as a sea turtle would be really special. So
yeah, I'm not sure who would win.
You can dream
race.
big.
The sea turtle or Michael Phelps, who knows?
Well, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah.
I would say track, because that means I'm probably moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
So.
What would your event, 100?
Hopefully, yeah.
Okay. Hopefully. Yeah, anything, really any event.
Right.
Okay. Great answer. Gentlemen, great job. I'm excited. We're going to see you on the fall camp tour. We're going to be out there August 16th, so we'll dive deeper into. Can you bring your Lego collection?
Please. Yeah, I'd love to.
I would really appreciate that. I'm just going to put that out there. You guys are going to face 2 of the 4 new Big Ten members. You've got Washington in mid-October. If you take a look at the schedule, and then you got a Friday night game in November at UCLA. What is it like to be in the Big Ten right now in this time of expansion and everything that's going on in college football in general?
Yeah, it's really cool. The Big Ten looks different. We're excited to play some new teams. Obviously, it's going to be really cool traveling to new places to play football. I was talking to Lachey, and we said we never played a game outside or past Nebraska. So new opportunities, new experiences for everybody in the Big Ten, so it should be a good time.
Yeah, same for me. Playing in such a storied, place like the Rose Bowl is going to be super cool. Growing up as a avid Big Ten fan, that was the biggest game of the year, and you always wanted to watch that game, and it'll just be cool to experience that same type of play.
Yeah, I think it's just a great opportunity, not only for us but the other teams too. You know, just to get to experience the conference and to play each other, and I think it'll be great and a lot of fun.
Hey, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys. Excellent job up here. Really good answers. Maybe some of the best of the day. Looking forward to seeing you in camp and watching you guys play this year.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so
much.
All right. The